This one's called Surge of Illegal Migrants Arrivals to the UK, yeah? Like, you know, they've been arresting people for incitement to riot now. Maybe I should have got that up on the old... There I do, I've got a tweet about it, look. This is a tweet about the Northamptonshire police received reports of a hate crime regarding a post published on social media. A 41-year-old woman from Northampton was arrested under suspicion of inciting racial hatred. And she was actually the Tory councillor's girlfriend. I've seen her account and stuff. I can't, you know, I'm not going to follow up and show, oh, it's this woman and she did it. And like, just the fact is that you can get arrested for inciting the hate crime of racial hatred online, yeah? Right, and right now, you can fully get arrested for that, yeah? Right? So if you're Alan, you might want to worry about what you've been posting, like Britain's Islamization, Southport attack, what the police are not telling us. I didn't even watch that one, did I? Britain's Islamic Nightmare. Surge of illegal migrants arrivals to the UK. We've seen his previous... I mean, I don't know if it counts right now if he did it months ago. You know, but we've seen his previous ones. If we don't stop the Islam takeover, it will end in civil war. Imported culture, where will it end? No, I honestly believe that if you go through his content, his racist content, which was partially the reason, I mean, that could have been the reason he got deleted off YouTube, you know. But if you go through that, and certainly what he's done today, my guess is that you may be able to build a case for incitement of racial hatred against Alan. And if that's the case, then he might actually get locked up and arrested for that. So... yeah, I'll tell you what's a real shame, isn't it, Lisa, is that the summer holidays, and really, like, all the people that should be coming together should be coming together for festivals and parties and, you know, barbecues, and, like, kids should be having a good time. They shouldn't be scared to go on the streets. It doesn't matter what side of the politics you're on, kids shouldn't be scared to go on the streets, should they? Our streets should be safe. We should be able to talk politics without smashing things up. It's on Rumble, not X or Facebook. True. I mean, it's still what he said on the internet, isn't it? It's still like online racial hatred. I don't think, I mean, maybe I have to do it. It's not really the sort of thing I do, is to, like, sort of, you know, go to the police with things. It's not really the sort of thing I do, unless things get very serious, in which case I just have to, you know. But, yeah, like... He thinks he's protected by Rumble. He's not, is he? Yeah. And he's probably put some of this on... Oh, he has to stop doing it on TikTok, hasn't he? Because he got them taken down. Let's have a quick look. One thing you have to give him, one thing you have to absolutely give him, is he's really popular talking about football on TikTok. 1 million views there, talking about the England manager. 1 million views. So probably just about as popular as Roy Keane then, or... No, is Roy Keane on TikTok? This would be funny. Roy Keane won't be on TikTok, will he? He's on TikTok? No. Oh no, it's just searching TikTok for Roy Keane. No, I just wanted to know, like, who's a popular footballer who's on TikTok, or a popular football pundit, and who would get, you know, like a reasonable number of views on their TikTok for being a football pundit. Roy Keane's someone I know. I'm trying to think of other football pundits that I know that might be on the internet. Oh, if I just put England manager into that. Daily Mail Sport. Okay, Daily Mail Sport. This is funny as fuck. Look, when I put England manager, I put England manager, I spelled it wrong, but so would Alan, right? When I put England manager, it gives me these top videos about the England manager. The Daily Mail Sport has got 1.2 million views, so Alan is hot on the heels of the Daily Mail in terms of his view count. Like, don't you think that's stupid? Like, is there any more clear? Is there any more clear that this guy's viewbotting? Michael Richards might be a good idea. He might be on TikTok, yeah. If he was, he wouldn't be doing as good as Alan. Football Timed, which is a football specific one, 40,000 views. Gareth Southgate himself, the actual England manager, right, resigning, shared on TikTok, relatively viral, 80,000 views. Alan's doing better than a video of the actual England manager resigning. Sky News, 100,000 views. Alan's got 10 times that amount, so... Well, you're writing anti-disestablishmentarianism in the chat there. What's that about? Is that something about long words just for fun? Fair enough. And it is that word, isn't it? I didn't read it, I just saw it being long. Just thought that would be it. Extra long. Yeah, Alan's doing better than the fucking England team at themselves on TikTok. BBC Sport there, look, 1.2 million views. Alan's hot on that. Alan's got 900,000. Like, Alan's got nearly as many views on his TikTok as BBC Sport. That either means Alan's really good or he's a fucking liar. Yeah, it's a shame for Gareth, isn't it? Like, just things are what they are sometimes. Like, you have your go, you know. He's had his go. If he went to the next tournament and things didn't go so well, then there'd be a load of unease and unrest, and people, like, you don't need. I say you don't need, like, you can still play well with a new manager. Like, you can improve upon where we are. You don't need to sort of abandon the things he's done. That's what I was going to say. Just is the way with the old football these days. I mean, I dare say if he won the competition, he'd still step down. You know. But yeah, so Alan's a fucking idiot, and it's funny, but he's not doing his he's not doing that stuff about racism on here, because I suppose it wouldn't sit next to those videos about Jude Bellingham, would it? You know. But that's strange, isn't it? He's not putting his racist stuff on TikTok anymore. It's kind of weird to me, that, because, like, if he really cares about... I suppose he'd just say you can't talk about it. You're being silenced. You can only talk about it on Rumble. I suppose that's what he'll say. But, like, if he really cares about something, why does he, like, hide it away and, like, secretly... I suppose he'll just say he can't do it there. Obviously, what he really cares about is just getting popular. Getting some numbers. And the reason for that is you might sign up to his Patreon. Like, the real reason he wants people to look at his content is so that you will sign up to his fucking Patreon, and then he can have your money. Sorry, what I'm saying, that picture of Jude Bellingham that he painted is moving on the screen, and it's just reminding me what a fucking klutz he is. I think that, you see, that's sketched out beforehand, and then the paint was applied. I think it's a paint by numbers job where someone sketches it out and tells him what to do. Well, there's some idea that it might be his like, you know, his grandson or someone that's doing these, and Alan is just sort of, you know, taking them and then saying that he did them. But I think I think it might be a combination. But I do really feel this idea of, like, hey, Grandad, look, I did you another painting. Look, I did Jude Bellingham like you asked. All right, thanks. Can you do me Gacy next time? Who's Gacy, Grandad? Look, just do this picture. Grandad loves your paintings. He's got them all up around his house. You know, he'd be booted off TikTok. Well, then that's probably happened, isn't it? Is he's probably done some racism, because he did say something about it in the past. He said, like, you know, you can't do whatever you want on TikTok, or I've had to change my TikTok or something. I think he's been in trouble for it, and it's got binned off, especially when he started doing the buying views on it, because it would have pushed it up, and then there's more people would have reported it. I don't know why he cares. Like, his TikTok might as well go in the bin. He's only paying for the views. Like, if you can't do it for real, why are you fucking paying for views? Make yourself feel better in the dead of night. But you know it. You know what it is. Like, you have to look at that in the dead of night and just know the truth. So, like, I don't know how it makes you feel better. Number go up. Right. I suppose you might think other people might think better of you, but then, like, why would anyone think well of you for having a lot of number on a TikTok? Like, there's people out there with TikToks of like a fucking cheese sandwich with 1 million views, yeah? Like, the internet's a funny place. You can work really hard. Like, this is like music. You know, with like music, if you know music, or art, I suppose, but like with music, it really stands out. There are people that work really hard on their music, and they are fucking amazing. Like, they've learned all their life, they've crafted their art, they can play loads of instruments, and they end up just like playing gigs in a pub or singing on a cruise ship and not ever being like naming lights, big number one. Sometimes they might fit into a smaller or bigger group, like playing music in some way that's not exactly their driving goal. You know, a lot of people don't make, what I'm saying is a lot of really talented people don't make it big in the music industry. On the other hand, there's a load of feckless goons who either look pretty or suck the right fucking weenus or whatever. You know, I'm not saying that just about women either. But you know what I mean? There's a load of fucking goons who end up like big names, big lights, and it's part of this like big industry, and they might not be the most talented, and they might not be the best. And like, you know, these days with TikTok and stuff, on TikTok it's about going viral, isn't it? A lot. Well, these days you can have more sustainability, can't you? But like, a viral success is not designed to it's a really interesting concept we could talk about for a long time, but I don't want to go over it too much. But it's not designed to like keep you in the limelight forever. Like, it's designed to. I mean, it just doesn't. Like, that woman recently who hooked out did the spit on the penis. Like, her 15 minutes of fame is going to be up soon. You know, it's so for Alan to chase that, for Alan to be like, I need to have this viral number, this number be big, and to think that's a success when cat videos get millions of views. Like, it's a funny, like, you need the viral number or the big number based on your quality of work. For you to feel good, you need to know it's come from your quality of work, don't you? Because otherwise, like, it's not actually people wanting to watch what you've done or anything. It's just a number. And if it was like, let's say for example, I don't know, like something fell out the sky now, and a turkey fell on my lap, and it was a very where did this turkey come from? And like, you know, this turkey's gobbling around the room, and that becomes a viral moment on my stream or whatever. All of a sudden, I'm big on TikTok. Everyone knows my face. I'm the turkey guy, that guy that the turkey fell off in the stream. Like, I wouldn't be like, this is success. You know, I'd be like, this is a random occurrence, and I suppose in some way it puts me in front of a lot of people, so I've got a chance to show them who I really am and what I'm really about. But you know, it's like a bit of advertising, but what it's really advertising is a random moment that isn't going to, like, you're not going to go and watch Hook Tao's streams because you've heard of her. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, so in this way, Alan is chasing something that doesn't even mean anything. And like I say, like, you know, you could go in the pub and say to someone, I've got 1 million views. I think he does. I honestly believe he does this. I think in the pub and in places like, you know, you'll get like some lady with nice hair or whatever, and he'll say to them, like, oh, I've got 1 million views on TikTok, you know, or something like that. And like, I don't think most people in the streets would give a fuck. If you know social media, you might have some relative, you know, you might think, oh, that's relatively good. Or you might think, well, I've seen a video of 100 million views of someone peeling a melon. So, I don't know. Like, it's just a number, isn't it? Like, but you said, I'm saying this, I'm a person on YouTube who wants bigger numbers, yeah? But I want the whole package. I want the bigger numbers to be part of the success package, not just the number for the number's sake. Like, you know, another aspect of it was Limie. I was going to talk about Limie because have I ever seen Art School Confidential? It's spot on. I haven't actually. Limie did deliberately, the comedian and now streamer Limie, deliberately, he's always been online. He's always been making online content, vines and stuff like that. An early adopter of technology and ideas. So Limie, he went viral a couple of times. Like, created a viral meme of himself in bed, like going like that in bed. And another one, he's the pound of feathers versus a pound of steel guy. A sketch that he did on his TV show ended up going viral. But he encourages and seeks out that virality, or has done, in order to further his career. Right? And it doesn't mean that every day he's looking to make a viral moment, but in his career he has contrived to produce one. I don't think he made it go viral, I think it just went viral. And the other one, I think he did make it go viral. I think he like constantly pumped it, like deliberately did it, constantly pumped it to the point where it became viral. It's like starting a little fire with going viral like that. You know, you can't just hope that it just happens. Some people go out there and they retweet it and they, you know, put it on different sites and they and then it starts to take effect, you know, and like otherwise it might be drowned out by all the other things that are happening. But also, if you design your content for virality, he was making vines at one point. They're like 3 seconds long, 5 seconds long. They're just about quick viral moments. So like that whole concept, if that is what you're doing, and like on TikTok it's different, isn't it? Because TikTok, you can literally have a 10-second TikTok go viral, become big. So TikTok, you can still use that viral mechanism in that way. But most of us on YouTube wouldn't swap our sustainable long-term growth for one viral moment. You know, I don't think we would. And this is why I laugh so much about it on TikTok when Alan does like 10-minute TikToks, because like no one's on there for that. If they are on there for longer form content, it's the live streams that they're on there for. And there are people doing live streams successfully on TikTok now, and they're a bit more longer form. In the main, they're panels. They're what YouTube used to have a lot of it. They're like panels. But yeah, like the idea that Alan would speak for 3 to 5 minutes on a subject and hope it could go viral, or even pretend it's gone viral by paying loads of money for fucking views, that's stupid. It's just incredibly stupid, and it screams of how stupid he is, because he's at this point he's bought so many views on one of those videos that he's doing better than the Daily Mail. And I think the Daily Mail might get more views on their TikToks than Alan fucking Vinnicombe. The Daily Mail Sport, actually. And they would have reported that right on the moment. So I'd say he's going better. That was hyperbole. He needs just another 20,000 views to be doing better than them. And he should be able to pick that up fine, shouldn't he, at the rate that his TikToks are going. So there's that. And then, like, are we going to watch this surge of illegal migrants video? I suppose I'll watch a bit of it, but I'm not going to be doing a full, like, oh, he said this and that's wrong and this and that. All I'm really concerned with now is he going to break the law, and can we send it to the police? Because if more than one person sends this to the police, then isn't he going to be in trouble? If he's broken the law. What's he doing? He's doing his start sequence again. Classic Alan, you bad chuffer. Alan, you're on. It's funny, isn't it, to laugh at him when he's doing such horrible things. But I suppose Alan's like that guy who got hit with that brick on the... Did you see the guy who got hit with the brick? Tell you what's also funny, some of them got their police sentences coming today. A couple of them cried in court when they got sentenced. Two of the rioters cried in court when they got sentenced. Not so tough now, are they? But honestly, they cried in court when they got sentenced. It's madness. It's madness, guys. It's madness. We all talk like fucking Paul Arnott now, don't we? We all talk like Paul Arnott. I tell you what, we can all talk like Paul Arnott, but I was the first one to say he's a fucking wrong un. Some people just were like, oh, he's out there helping. Took him a little bit of a while to twig on, didn't it? But not Scotty Hottie. The first thing I said when I saw that Paul Arnott was he's a wrong un, didn't I? First thing I said. Got straight on that. I see him, I spot him. Said that about that Luke, didn't I? Fucking Andrew Tate sucking motherfucker. Curtis got hit in the head last night with a piece of slate. What, again, another item? Or is it that... Because we heard he got hit with a brick while I was doing the stream What was I doing? I was doing a premiere on Super Chuffer. Do you know what? I forgot to monetize that video. Fair enough. It must be the will of the gods, or the will of, you know, my guardian angel, Nicky Bully, in a way. The video doesn't do so well if it doesn't get monetized, because YouTube don't choose to push it out, because why would they? Because you're not earning money on it. So that video might have got a bit of a, you know, a hindrance on it. Obviously now I've monetized it. So now it might pick up a little bit, but maybe I shouldn't have monetized it, you know. No, it's all good. It's just a video. That one was about the sonar, which was not. It was fake sonar. It's more. That episode is more about the lies and the misinformation that's being spread on social media. And it's so weird that those same people who were spreading it about Nicola Bully are also spreading lies and misinformation about these right-wing riots. It's so weird. It's like, you know, they could be interested in so many topics, but they're all right-wing, and they were in Nicola Bully. There's another one that I've followed since Nicola Bully, who was really good on Nicola Bully, and they even talked about her again today, but they've been retweeting Tommy Robinson, and I was just like, what the fuck? And it's not because, oh, you can't be right-wing and also, like, looking for the justice for Nikki. It's that you've gained attention for your social media by talking about Nikki, and now you're promoting them. It's sick. Yeah. Anyway. Has Alan broken the law? Let's have a look. I fucking hope so. I'm telling you, from what he's done so far, I reckon I can pick out 2 or 3 moments. We've already recorded them all so far, haven't we, like, in the streams, but I'd have to go back and look through it. But with my... what we need to do, some of you might want to do this, you know, it's not me telling you what to do, it's up to you. But you might want to get the legal definition of what the fuck it is we're trying to do. What is it, racial hatred or something? We might want to get the legal definition, and we might want to just go through it with a fine-tooth comb to see if we can't catch him breaking the law legally online. Like, even if he doesn't end up big trouble, the police would have to go and tell him off, wouldn't they? And like, that would be fucking funny. That would be hilariously funny. And it would put a stop to these episodes. Saying that, because of course Alan sent the police to me, didn't he, falsely, and they were pretty fucked off with him for that.
Are we here? You can see me, Riff-Raff, thank you. Marvellous.
Marvellous.
Marvellous. Right, start off by showing you migrants leaving France. We pay France over £100 million a year to stop them coming, right? To stop them coming.
They want to kill us. If they catch us,
so this is what happens
when
there's too many people in the country, right? You've all seen the riots, and I don't really want to talk about the riots tonight, because I want to.
He's got the video on about the riots. So the reason he doesn't want to talk about that, it's a 40-minute video on Channel 4 News. Boom. Look, it's a 40-minute video. It's on Channel 4 News on YouTube. So he's not supposed to be using YouTube anymore. He's not signed in. I can see at the top he's not signed in. But he's not supposed to be using YouTube anymore. And he can't do his show without the mainstream media that he berates. He said you shouldn't listen to the mainstream media. You shouldn't watch it. Why are you bringing it up on your show and playing the videos then, Alan? Like, he says YouTube's a load of shit, you don't want YouTube. Well, why are you on YouTube using it as the backbone of your show? You look like a fucking idiot.
Really explain more.
And also, that video wouldn't have helped because it was Channel 4 News saying that the rioters are bad.
About the crossing.
It's 4 a.m. and the people smugglers are out on the
now
beaches.
He's gone for Sky News. French police watch on as migrants attempt to board small boat to Britain a month ago. So it's a month-old video that he's resurrected for today's broadcast. And I suppose he'll let Sky News do the talking, so I've got to skip on from that. But
Northern France. And
Even France.
We pay 4 a.m. and the
skipping on a bit. I mean, he's going to talk.
And today it's passed.
Didn't he?
So why are we giving them 100 million a year?
And watching from the beach, a long line of police who monitor, but under French law, can't intervene.
cannot intervene.
It's hard to think of a more brazen example of people smuggling.
So why are we giving them 100 million a year to the French police to stop them? French law says that they can't stop them. So are they taking this 100 million on false pretenses? Can anybody explain that?
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? The room's like I don't know what goes on with StreamYard, but the little camera thing that it gives you, the little square, that's not portrait. Sorry, it's not landscape. Like, it's not exactly landscape. It's like a bit square, so it might be cutting something off. But his room does look a little bit different. His hair looks a bit different, like he's been asleep on the one side, like it's squashed down there and it's sticking up there. I think he's drunk tonight, and I think the microphone has now gone sort of in front of him or off to the side in front. You know, because he's got the desk in front of him and he's got it on a stand, so it can't go on the desk, even though you can get a plethora of different stands that will sit on your desk. He can't do that. So he's got it on a stand next to his desk, just over there, and he's not pushed it over and into his face. That's what's happening. But he has moved it around to try and get more in front of him, yeah.
We give them money to stop the boats. They're sat there taking photos of the boats, and French law says they're powerless to intervene. So that's step one. Over they come, right? In their thousands.
Across the channel. But over there, there are
I wonder if I don't even have to watch this to pick out the bits to make it easy for the police, because I can't be fucked with it. Like, maybe I just have to send it to the police and say, I think this is what this is. You decide. And then they have to watch it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm just a citizen. I don't know what the rules are and what you are and are not allowed to say, but I'm pretty worried about what Alan's been doing on his YouTube channel.
There are dozens of people
On his Rumble channel.
desperately clambering to get onto that boat. It is a chaotic scene, but it's being watched.
No border control.
You go to sleep. Sorry, go to sleep with my relaxing voice and also Alan's relaxing voice.
No doubt about that. They're prepared to risk little children's lives to get here, because we are the land of milk and honey.
Land of milk and honey.
I've done some research, and like Afghanistan, you're lucky if you earn £40 a month. No wonder they want to come, right? So they're coming in their thousands, and it's...
I keep forgetting that. On a more positive note, I keep forgetting what it's ambrosia, and what is it? Is it nectar and ambrosia? What's the food and the... Alexa, what's the food of the gods?
The Food of the Gods is a 1976 adventure film starring Marjoe Gortner, Pamela Franklin, and Ralph Meeker. A group of friends travel
Alexa,
to
stop.
a remote Canadian...
Stupid. I mean, that's a really straightforward question. Alexa, in Greek mythology, what is the food of the gods?
Here's something I found on the web. Food for the gods typically contain walnuts, salt,
Alexa,
brown
stop.
sugar,
Gonna start annoying me now. Ambrosia and nectar. It's saying ambrosia and nectar, divine food consumed by the Greek gods. So is it ambrosia? One of them's like food, and one of them's liquid, isn't it? And they have a food and a drink, and it's two things. Is it ambrosia and nectar? Because I said that before I started, and there it is coming up there, ambrosia and nectar. But I know ambrosia. I remember ambrosia, but I can't remember the other one. Is it ambrosia and nectar? I think it is. The food and drink of the gods. Yeah, ambrosia and nectar were the food, the drink of the gods in Greek mythology. All right, I'm better than Alexa.
I've got to tell you this. On the other day,
I've got to tell you
there was
this.
a record number of migrants arrived in one day.
Okay,
So
how many?
Tuesday,
What's
yesterday,
this? Yeah, go on. Yeah.
882 people crossed the English Channel and landed here. This is the highest.
Alan, we have a population of 70 million. 70 million. So if we have 800, I'll round it up to 1,000 for you. Yeah, 1,000 people. And we have them every day, all year. Which we won't because of weather, seasonal, stuff like that. But let's say we had that every day, all year. 300,000. Do you want me to do that numbers thing? Do you remember when we do the numbers thing? Should I do that again? It doesn't make a big difference. Sounds like a big number on a particular boat, 800, but or on a particular day, but Alan's blowing things out of proportion again.
Number in a single day since 2022, because the weather's good, and Starmer's now in charge. Starmer has issued the message, no Rwanda, no borders, no border control, no limits, no cap. Now is the prime time to get
We do have borders and border control.
to England. So I've done some studying, guys. And anybody got a calculator? Can anybody help me out here, right, with a calculator? Because you know my dyslexia. I don't want to get the figures wrong. Here's the facts. Once they get here, they'll be put in hotels and accommodation. 882 people. The cost of putting an asylum seeker a month into accommodation is £4,300.
Okay, we've got problems there then. The cost is going directly into the pocket of the big hoteliers. The Tory donors, the big hoteliers, they're getting that money. So the migrants aren't getting any money. The money's being stolen from the taxpayer and given to the rich people. That's the problem there. I don't think we should be doing that. No one thinks that's a good idea, but it was orchestrated by the Tories and the Brexit people. It's a con job, Alan. You should understand that. It's your sort of thing. So let's say we didn't do that and we built affordable social housing, then that cost would come right down. You could be giving that money to the building companies that build that housing, to the councils that rent the housing. That could go back into society instead of just into the pockets of the rich people who own the hotels. It's a funny night tonight. I see you saying about fading in chat. I mean, I told you I might be here for the long haul tonight. I might end up doing it. I'm really nearly going to bed myself, but I really want to see this Kino Casino thing. I just really want to see it. It just fucked me up for another sleep. But, you know, it's only one sleep out of the big picture, isn't it? Hey Dover, sorry, I didn't post anything major, but Curious Cat posted it. Nothing major's going on, really. Just, I noticed Alan, it was brought to my attention, thank you very much. Thank you very much. That Curious Cat, thank you. Thank you, everyone. It was brought to my attention that Alan had done an episode, and I realised that they're arresting people for inciting racial hatred at the moment. And Alan's just done this episode, so I wondered if he could be arrested for inciting racial hatred. At the moment, I think he kind of can be, because this episode's called "Surge of Illegal Migrants Arrivals to the UK," and in the current climate, you know what he's saying is pretty bad. Yeah, all the money they blew on Rwanda. Yeah, exactly. And you know, all that money they blew on Rwanda, right? It hasn't gone to Rwanda so that someone in Rwanda becomes rich. It goes on consultancies and administration, costs involved with, all the people that worked on the project have probably got a little allowance for their lunch and this and that. Like with the Garden City Bridge, you know, when they're going to do that bridge in the centre of London, people forget about this as well. London Bridge Garden project, was it like Garden Bridge, right? This cost 53 million. The Garden Bridge, they were going to put it in London. The Garden Bridge, a failed plan to build a bridge covered with trees and flowers over the River Thames, cost a total of 53 million, right? Okay, it cost 53 million and we didn't do it. So, but where did the money go? Yeah, so the money, it says, went to construction contracts. What does that mean? No one did any building. They must have made a bank. Designers got 9.5 million. So that's people just sitting in an office drawing pictures. 9 million. How much money do you need to design a bridge? Do you know what I mean? Like, these are silly amounts of money. And who do you think works in those offices? Who do you think's got a friend of a friend? It's not just the contracts for the PPE that go like this. It's a lot of weird shit, like legal costs. Friends of friends lawyers. The Garden Bridge Trust executive, they had salaries. Like, they were just paid money to be the executive to oversee the project that never happened. And there's no way to claw back that money. But where did it go? Because we didn't get a bridge. So what I'm saying is, it's the same with this Rwanda thing. A lot of the money goes early on people who are consultants, or like they'll be in little companies that don't work directly, you know, for the government. They're not government agencies and things like that, but they farm out jobs to them. You know, they give them the contract to do the designing or the consultancy for the legal costs, or, you know, things like that. But obviously 20 million went for construction contracts, which I still don't understand myself. But yeah, like, public money gets disappeared in that way, and those people that get the money, like, they're doing jobs that you can't, it's not money laundering, but they're doing jobs that you can't see or quantify or qualify, really. And I don't know how important they are. Like, I really hate consultants in general. I used to run a business, and I'm not going to be, you know, employing someone to tell me what to do, because they can convince me that they know better than me what to do. Yeah. But it's loads of money just to vanish, isn't it? And like, when you think about it in the big scheme as well, the public purse, like, let's have a look. What is the current public purse? Because Labour said there was less money than we thought there were. I've forgotten from the recent budget. Am I looking at the wrong words? Am I using... well, a brief guide to public finances. We're spending 180 billion on on health, for example. Education gets 80 billion, like 80 billion on education. So 53 million is not even up to a billion, is it? Like, you know, those numbers we were doing earlier about immigration. When you do it with this money, 53 million is a pocket change in the sort of money that gets spent by the government. So it's not that, like, to us that's a lot of money, and in terms of a housing budget, it's not. But it would really help in lots of different ways, you know. It's the fact that you could probably account for a few million here, there. Like 1 million, 2 million is even smaller. But it's the pocket. It's all that stuff that just gets hoovered up, and it should be going back into the economy. But yeah, so, like, you know, even that, like, you know, we're talking about the Rwanda money, the bridge money, name 10 other projects like that, and then we fixed all this public finances for the immigrants. So, yeah. And I was saying about consultants, wasn't I? I just feel like consultancy, you get paid a lot more. Some people might be worth it and they might be good, but they convince people that they are going to come into their business and help them. So they've already got their money for doing their job, even if your business doesn't go well. But consultants essentially get money for just talking about stuff to people. And how many of them can you pay and employ? If you're the government, fucking loads. You know, we're going to do this bridge. Well, let's get the consultants in. There's all my friends paid. Boom. Boris Johnson's going to change his curtains. First of all, we need to have consultants tell us about what kinds of curtains would be good. We need an environmental consultant to confirm that this is going to be good for environmentally. And that might be good. You know, someone might get some money for doing a good job there, but also equally it might just be money for old rope that gets thrown around because we never end up doing the project anyway. So get those consultants on the gravy train, you know. It really feels like there's a lot of that, and it's a feature of the Conservative government. Like, it's a way they try and... this is why I think our country's in such a mess, is because people believed that those people in charge were trying to do things for the country, when actually, well, they didn't even pretend that they were going to do that recently, did they? Actually, it was the banks they were doing it for. Turns out they were doing it for the banks. Because they've got a lot of money in the banks and a lot of friends in the banks. Right.
Those hotels are coining it in. So a hotel's getting over £1,000.
He's right, though. He just said it there. The hotels are coining it in. Doesn't he spot the angle? He's a grifter. He should spot the angle there. Follow the money.
a month for these guys.
Because like some
give them some
immigrant,
food.
listen, some immigrant that comes in on a boat like that, they don't know fuck all about hotels and this and that. Like Alan thinks they've heard through the grapevine that you get a nice room with a little kettle. Like, they don't know that. They're just looking for a new life in a better place. So when they get off the boat, they're just like, fuck, what are we going to do now? Let's hope we don't get caught. They don't often run into the arms of the authorities hoping to get put in a hotel, do they? Quite a lot of them filter into society in different ways and actually can fall off the bottom end of it a little bit because they don't have the correct paperwork and can't get access to the same legal protections. So, you know, bad may befall them. But, so anyway, yeah, like if there's money there and you want to follow the money, this is why I find it so strange about this politics as well, is because it seems really like what we were just talking about, you know, the Brexit bust to now. Like, who's been getting rich? Because I haven't, you haven't. Like, unless we're investment bankers or property moguls, like, I don't go to the tennis club, do I? I don't make artisan gin on my fucking marsh farm. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just a normal person, so I'm not in a position to capitalise on the like when society goes down like it has done, other people capitalise on it and get rich, don't they? Like, there's been a lot of finance trading on destabilising the country, the Brexit vote, all that sort of stuff. There was a lot of finance trading, pound versus euro. Most of us don't get into that. We don't even have enough money to make a difference to put it into, like, if you're going to put your money into a sort of hedge fund, for example, like, you've got to be up there with a bit of money, haven't you? Like, so like, we don't get to play around like that. Alan certainly fucking doesn't. But you've got to follow that money.
In that. No wonder Holiday Inn's doing it, right? £4,300 a month average for one. Right, so now you got times 4,300 by 12. Can somebody do that? Put the answer in chat. We do this together.
Assuming you're going to keep them in a hotel for a year, which seems fucking insane to me, doesn't it, Alan? Because surely this is just like a stopgap while we process them, because we haven't built any sort of proper processing stopgap centre, which is an oversight. But if you then consider that when they get a job, like, how much tax does the average minimum wage person pay in the UK annually? I just want to know. I don't want to know a rate, do I? I don't want to know a rate. 20% of 12 to 50 grand, but I just want to know what the, you know, average wage / the tax. Not in percentage terms, you fucking arseholes. There you go. In salary terms, someone with a full-time UK permanent role, 40-hour week, there's a number, right? All right, well then, give me the number then, and I'll do the work myself. Calculator. I'll do the work myself. Can I paste into the calculator? No. What's the number? 23,795. We don't need 20p on it, do we? 23,795 divided by 5. That gives you £4,000, £4,700. So every year they will contribute, just by nature of their job, if they get a minimum wage job, just the job, not with the money they spend, not all the other stuff they buy, all that other stuff, you know, just the job, they'll contribute £4.5 to £5 grand a year. So it is expensive housing them in this way, yeah. So you've got another option there, a real simple option, which is to house them not in a hotel, but somewhere in a community and help them get a job. And then it's flipped. It's the other way around. Now they're contributing. So
yeah, we'll have a little bit of group therapy tonight. So one.
Wait, I need to minus the tax-free allowance of 12,500 first. Ah, I thought you didn't get. I thought that was like what you get, and then if you go over it, you start getting taxed. I don't know about like. I'm not an expert. I just add up all the numbers and what they tell me I have to pay. I have to pay. Like it's just like I don't really know enough about it. I'm not my tax accountant, not my tax attorney. So what? Basically half that then, like two and a half a year. It's not a lot, is it? Actually, just in revenue from the old job. But then, like I say, you do spend all that money on stuff. So like the rest of the, like if they spend every penny that they earn, which most people might, then that gets taxed as well, doesn't it? So you can stick on a load there as well. So probably average out.
Asylum seeker, £4,300 a month times 12 is, come on guys.
So you're saying that's a month?
12 times.
So you've got a month to house them before they start costing you money, essentially. Like when I say house, I mean like integrate, get a job. Like it might not be that easy, but it might not be that bad. Like you've got a month to get them a place, and like this is our challenge, isn't it? As a society, you're being given a like. I just want to show you like a game, like SimCity or something. Let's just see someone playing SimCity. Like in a game like SimCity, you take an empty space and you populate it. You start off small. You build a little settlement, power station, give them access to water. You start planning your city, and you add residential zones, commercial zones, little water towers there. Look, and then what happens is people start to come into the city. And this is a really important aspect of it. Is that people start to come into the city and they start to fill up those spaces. So you start having a population in your city. He's got a problem with his power lines there. Oh, he's having fun playing the game. So these places won't grow unless people come in and fill them. Of course, we're not in this situation in the UK right now. We don't have empty spaces that we're trying to just simply fill with people, although we've got Milton Keynes. But like, it's okay if you've got a growing and thriving city, or like this might be an analogy for a country, to add some more people in. Like they do some of the jobs. They help the thing to grow. In this game, we should zoom out and just show you the whole city. In the game, the purpose, look, there's a plan of the city. The purpose is to grow the city. That's the aim of the game. And I know that life isn't a game in this way. Wish we could just see his city. I'm surprised for a person who's playing the game, he's not done more videos, footage of just the actual city. There's quite a few bits of him talking there, but you can see here he's, this is growing now, isn't it? It's expanding out, and this is how things work. It ends up expanding out to the shorelines, and you get nice places and houses, and like the factories move out of town, and then this becomes residential, and then it grows and it becomes bigger, and you have the budget and the tax money, and the way he's growing that city, the way he's building these things, putting in the police stations, the pylons, the water, the power, all that. The way he's doing that is because, power actually we pay for, don't we? But because there's no UFOs. There's no UFOs. The way it's happening in real life is that the tax money, just like in SimCity, goes into the budget. And in the game, if you run out of money, you can't build anything else in the city and you're in trouble. So you have to raise the taxes. Oh no. But raising the taxes makes less people want to come in the city. So you find an even balance. You spend, you grow, you recoup the taxes, you grow, you spend, you grow. That's our world. Our cities, our economies, especially in the West, they grow, and it's not out of hand. It's not so rapid we can't control it. They grow, and that growth is our economy's growth. Like we talk about growth and recession. You understand? This is another one that maddens me. Is the economy? If we're in a recession, that means that we're in negative growth for 2 quarters consecutively. So we don't want to be in negative growth in terms of GDP, in terms of the amount of stuff that we're producing in the country, and in some ways, in terms of the growth of our cities, our economy. They go hand in hand. So adding more people into our country, adding more people into our labour force. If I was playing a computer game like this, you might say, oh, they're the wrong colour people. I don't like the way they talk or whatever. In a game like this, I wouldn't think too much about that. I'd be looking at the overview of my economy in my city, and I'd be saying, I can take more labour, put them here. That's where we've zoned for the new, like in this game, that's a zoning of new commercial buildings. Well, we need people to fill them up and do the jobs. So let's have them come in. I prefer it in the game if people are coming into my city and increasing that amount of money that I have to spend on building the city, and everything keeps growing. That's the purpose. It's not just the game. The game emulates our life. So, yeah, in this context, with what Alan's saying, he makes a point that the immigrants there's a taxpayer burden of about, well, £4,000 a month, every month after the first month. Because the first month is on us if we can get them in a job. Like, they pay for themselves. Yeah? But you've got a month to do that before they start putting the burden on you. And that sort of thing could be worked out. Well, we could halve the cost anyway. We could halve that cost because we're giving it all to the hotels. But we could work that out in advance. I'm surprised we haven't worked that out in advance. Now, if I was going to argue in favour of Brexit for border control, I think I should have put these plans on the table and said, this is how much it's going to cost to house them. This is where we're going to keep them before we then filter them into society. We could send them back if that's the... We've got to hold them somewhere first, though, because they're going to come on the boats. You can't say, let's just close the borders. Okay, they're closed now. Right, listen, the borders are closed now. We just close them. Overnight, I've decided, Scott's the president, I'm closing the borders. So now they're closed. They're already closed. It's already illegal to cross them. So people are going to continue to come. You can't just say they are closed, so that's that. We haven't got like a doorway on the channel. We can patrol it more, absolutely. We could have border patrols along the beaches. We could have buildings built to house people to border patrol. You could have, that's jobs, that's all jobs. I want that. I think that's good. Let's do that. Let's put the jobs in. You could also, on top of that, you could build these centres for so when someone is arriving on a boat, they know they're going to go straight to the immigration centre. It's not a prison, but also it's not free into society. There will be programs to help people integrate. I believe it's the right way. And there will be schemes to help them go off into the country and get a little house and, you know, whatever the situation, a job. Like, I think personally, you wouldn't want to just say to somebody, you've made it into Britain, there's your house. I think that's strange. I think what we probably should do is say, you've made it into Britain, would you like this house and this job, or would you like to go back home? Because you've got to start somewhere. This is the start point. You know, if you're not going to play ball, sorry, this is what we've got to offer. But yeah, I think it's strange that no one set that up, because they knew there was going to be this problem. Instead, they knew there was going to be this problem and they set this up. So Alan can't argue about the people getting in the boats. The person he has to be angry at is the Tories, who have been in power for 15 years and have set all this up. Like, they've forced people to vote for Brexit. They pushed the Brexit agenda. People voted for it. Now, why have they not done anything about it? And the answer is because they're making £4,000 a month off every person that stays in a hotel. They don't want that to stop. They want the £4,000 a month. They're still making it, even though they're not in power. I don't understand why he doesn't see this.
What's 4,300? I'll wait. I'll go all night. I'm trying to avoid watching the riots. I'm trying to take your mind off the riots and concentrate on the
Immigration?
We can't stop the riots if we don't stop this, right? Anybody got it?
That's a good one, isn't it? We can't stop the riots if we don't stop this. Is that close to incitement to riot? Is it close to racial? No, he's walking a very strange tightrope tonight.
Right, so Kaka, brilliant. I'm glad you're here. Let's call it 51,000.
He's glad Kaka's here. This is who I think he's doing it for. I think Kaka is a full-on racist, and I think he does occasional episodes. I mean, obviously Alan is into this shit as well now, but the Scottish stuff he was doing about Scottish rules and Scottish immigration, Kaka is backing him. Kaka's a full-on racist. She expects him to do certain amounts of things on strike. He doesn't have to do the Kessinger for Nancy anymore, but the racism for Kaka, that can never stop.
Per month, per migrant, per month. Now, that's a month for these 800, right? It's more than that, isn't it? Where have you got that from? £4,300 for one. Oh, that is a year for one, is it? 51,000 a year for one.
I wonder how much money Alan has cost our system. He didn't even pay tax when he was running that restaurant. That's why he got struck off as a not being able to run the business, because he didn't do the books. Tax problems. So he's the worst for it. He's had every opportunity to do well in life, and he chose to cheat the system.
So the accommodation for one migrant is 51,000 a year. What is it for 882? So what's 51,600 by 882? Remember, we're doing one day. This is what come in one day.
It's like
4,300 a month, 51,600 a year. To put these up for a year is 51,600 times 882. Come on, Kaka, you can do it.
It's 4 million something, isn't it?
I'm enjoying this. Oh, this has got it right as well, yeah. Okay. So to put these migrants up for a year, their average stay is 2 years in a hotel.
2 years? They're keeping him in hotels for 2 years, and we just look away and just don't care. Like, that's the fucked up thing. Not that we should be angry and burning down the hotels, that we should be angry and burning down the people who put them in hotels for 2 years. Because they don't have much choice, do they? Once they're in that hotel, they don't have much choice. Even if they wanted to go home, I don't think there's like a phone call they could make. I don't like it in the hotel anymore. I want to go back to my previous, country that I've sought asylum from. Well, we don't have boats to send you back. You've got to stay in the hotel. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a bit of a fucking weird one, this.
Because don't forget, we can't process them.
We can't process them. Why don't we process them?
45 million. 45.5 million.
Is it 45 million? I thought it was 4 million. 40, because of my maths. 45 million. Well, that's fine, isn't it? Just take it out of the green fucking bridge money, or the Boris Johnson bus, or the endless fucking money, like the Rwanda money. Just pay for it with the Rwanda money. Like, why did we waste all that money on Rwanda when we could have just paid for all these people? Like, seems fucking weird. But I don't want them to be paid for to stay in hotels. I think we should have a better system. I think it's the system of paying for to stay them in hotels, which is stupid, isn't it? Like, so who set that up?
For these boat people that come yesterday, just their accommodation for 1 year is over 45 million pounds. That's 1 day. Now, I don't know which country can afford this, but it's certainly not my country, because they can't pay me £300 winter fuel allowance.
Oh, Alan's had his winter fuel allowance taken away. Well, now that's very telling, isn't it? You can get it if you get one of the following: pension credit, universal credit, income related employment, income based job seekers, or income support. I would have thought, wouldn't he have been on one of these things? You will not be eligible if you live in Scotland, have been in hospital getting free treatment for more than a year, need permission to enter the UK, were in prison for the whole of the week 16th to 22nd of September. What's that? What? This one's baffled me. If you were in prison for the week of 16th to 22nd of September 2024 for the whole week, you ain't getting it. I think that must be a tick over. It's like this year. If you were in prison this year and that week equals this year, maybe. But I can't understand why that particular week is... hasn't even happened yet. It's coming up, isn't it? I suppose it's an annual payment. So in that week, they decide who's in prison and who's not, and then they give the payment, I'm thinking. But it seems a bit weird that if you're in prison for that 1 week that's coming up in September, you won't get winter fuel payment. But if you weren't in prison, you can have it. I suppose it's the winter, isn't it? If you're in prison in the winter, you don't need it, is what they're saying, I think. If you can get it if you live in a care home. You'll not be eligible if you get pension credit, income support, You will not be eligible if you get pension credit, income support, income-based job seekers, or income-related employment. You will not be eligible. You like to be eligible. This is fucked up. To be eligible, you must live in England or Wales and get pension credit, for example. But you won't be eligible. Oh, sorry. You can get it if you live in a care home. You won't be eligible if the following apply. Right. Okay. I'm just because they changed the finances on it this year. They decided Labour have taken pensioners' winter fuel allowance, haven't they? But it wasn't like as horrible as it sounds. Big ups, Akash Parry. Big ups you. I wonder about this, right? The issue that just to chat politics briefly, when Labour came to the coffers, they opened the cupboard and the Conservatives had taken more money than they'd said they had, and there was like a big hole and an IOU, and they said, right, we've made all these plans to fix the country and to do things our way based on the figures that are now wrong. So now we're going to have to say how much money is there really, because the Conservatives do this every fucking time. How much money is there really? And they had to recost things, so they had to say some things are going to change. I understand that, and it's a bit of a politician's trick, is that they make promises, you make sure there isn't the money for them to enact those promises before you hand over the reins, so now they look like liars, but based on your lie on how much money there was in the first place. So it's a bit of a politician's trick, that. But I think the decision to reduce the winter fuel allowance, not on everyone, there are still pensioners that are going to get it, but they took that away from people who have other forms of income. Like, it's a before it was that if you were a certain age, you got the credit. That was it. If you're old, you get the money. Like, you're old, you get paid for your heating. The end. But now it's if you're old and you can't afford it, you get paid. But if you can afford it and you've got other incomes, like it's a what's the word? I'm not saying old people should be taxed in this way, but it's a means tested thing now, isn't it? It's about how much money you've got versus whether you get it. Like, it's not just given to everyone. So I think that overall, it's a way of them getting some money back into the system that isn't completely abhorrent and breaking all their own promises. But ideally, they wouldn't be doing that, yeah. But I understand what they've done. But what it means to Alan is that before he was just getting it, and now he's not. And what that means to us is that he cries poverty all the time, doesn't he? He hasn't got enough money. The money doesn't even cover this. Or it doesn't matter so much. He's not doing the grift anymore, is he, so much? Which is weird. Don't you think this is weird, right? Alan isn't crying about money so much on the internet, and yet he couldn't afford to live before if he didn't get X amount of money on his streams, if they didn't keep tipping him. So either behind the scenes, they're giving him a certain amount of money, these ladies, these spanners, or, and when I say behind the scenes, I mean not just his patron, I mean like behind the scenes, you know, or he doesn't need that money as much as he said he did. Now, the fact that he's admitted to not getting the pension credit, or not getting the heating credit, means that they will look at his amount of money and say, well, you don't qualify, you're not poor enough, won't it? So he's crying poor and all this. He's not as poor as he said. And all this stuff about the court case and he's got no money and they're going to get no money out of me. If that were the case, he wouldn't be, he'd be getting that heating payment. It's not the case, he's not getting the payment. So there's something very telling there in that. Like, it's just interesting, isn't it?
But they can pay this one day of boat people £45 million for accommodation.
And it doesn't work like that, does it? It doesn't. The public money doesn't work like that. It's not that we take the money out and we give it to the boat people. We give it to the people coming across the channel. Therefore, we just don't have money here now. Anyway, that's gone. Like it's about allocation of funds into different projects. And so, you know, if you want to say you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, then we can also point at loads of other projects and things that have happened and say, well, that money could go there and that money could go there. Like I said earlier about the Garden Bridge or the Rwanda plan or the XYZ or the X, you know, like there's so much money that's going in the wrong place. So if Alan had a handle on public finance, he'd be able to talk about this with some confidence. But since I doubt he even knows how much money is spent on any department and where any of it goes, I don't think he's qualified to talk about it.
They get a free mobile phone with credit on. And then they get clothes. And then they get 50 quid a week each.
Would you not allow people clothes at £50 a week? What a horrible, nasty, selfish man. What did you say there? The middle classes who work hard don't get the money but are not rioting. Yeah. Also, I was reminded of some other crimes. I mentioned a couple recently, talking about this stuff, but I can't remember off the top of my head now which one it was, actually. I don't really want to rack my brains for horrible crimes, but there have been some other quite notable crimes that didn't incite any riot. And to be honest, it's about how much you can afford, isn't it, in this scale of stuff. I know that it's not fair if the rich people have to pay more percentage-wise, is it? And it's not fair if the middle class earn that money because they work hard and then it goes to some poor person who didn't work very hard. Well, I understand about fairness, but in society in general, that's the system of how we help people. And it is fair because if you were in that position, you would get the help. So it is fair. On top of that, people who have got more money can afford to share more, can't they? I know it's a percentage thing, so if you increase the percentages on the people who are richer, they're paying a percentage-wise more. But when they go and fill up their car, they don't notice the difference on the fuel price, do they? If you're at the rich end and you've got a lot of disposable income and they put the petrol up by 50p, you don't care. You do care because it's your money, but you don't care as much because you just fill up your car. It's just money. But if you're at the poor end and you're budgeting and that 50p matters because now you can't buy carrots or whatever it is, it's about how much of your total income that is, in real terms, isn't it? So it doesn't seem strange to me that the more affluent ends of society should pay more into society. It doesn't seem strange to me at all, but I understand why people are angry if people don't want to work for things and just sit on their own arse and get free stuff. But you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater and simply say we won't have a welfare state then. Let's just remove that. Some people go to the hospital and pretend they've got an illness and they don't really have an illness. They're just getting a free night in hospital. They're just hamming it up and they're not really poorly. It doesn't mean we should close down the hospitals. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, those people are not good and we should probably not have them cluttering up the hospital. But a lot of people go to hospital when they don't even know if they're poorly or not, so it's a different thing. But my point is, using a public service when you might be capable of not using it and getting on with your life, that's not ideal, but it doesn't mean we should remove the public services. It's just a really bizarre argument, isn't it? So,
It's penny money.
I'm preaching to the choir.
Seriously. So I would put the cost of that boat in a year at something like 70 million pounds to look after 1 day of illegal migrants. 70 million pounds for 1 day of illegal migrants.
Right, we've just been through those figures, Alan. So it's the same number, but you just divided it down to 1 day instead of doing it for the whole year. So everything I've just said about all that still stands. Talk about fuel prices and stuff as well, yeah? How much money does BP make in 1 day on British fuel, 12.8 billion profit. What's 12.8? Alexa, what's 12.8 billion divided by 365?
12.8 billion divided by 365 is 35,68493.1507.
Thanks. So I know that's their profits and they're a private company, so they get to keep their profits. Yeah? But the British petrol company who pump the petrol out of the North Sea, which is basically just like a resource that's just in the sea that we own as a country. Yeah? The people that do that. So you could say we should nationalise that, make that a national company, so those profits don't just go to the company and just to their directors or whomever. Those profits can go to the country. Yeah? Then that's it. You've solved the immigrant money. Just nationalise BP. And they're the ones that you've put all your prices up for all of your fucking not just them, but like, these energy companies and all that, like they're making all that money. There's an easy fix. But it's not like that in the economy. It's not simply rob Peter to take, it's not you take the money from here and you give it to them. It's about what's in the total kitty at the end of the year, so to speak, when they do the budget, and how that's then allocated. That's what it's about. So it's making that total kitty as big as possible and then allocating it as carefully and well, whilst not just giving it to your mates, isn't it? So that's the problem with the country at the moment. And if you're interested in public finance, as Alan seems to be, then he needs to start understanding those bigger concepts. And of course, you're going to have to understand all the other departments as well, like education, the health department, because these people also interact with those things as well. Like, there are costs to the public just by having a baby, aren't there? But then that baby grows up and then contributes to society. So it's that same argument.
Come here with no money, no passport.
Now imagine he was saying this about babies.
No ID of illegal migrants. £70 million for 1 day of illegal migrants that come here with no money, no passport, no ID. It's estimated that 10% of those are ex-prisoners or offenders in some way.
Estimated.
We don't know what they've done. But we do know what some of them do, don't we?
Well, what does that mean?
Which I'm going to go through with you in a minute.
Oh.
So, what's got to happen is we have to stop the boats, right?
He's laughing. Yeah, okay. Well, we don't have to stop the boats. France have to stop the boats, as you discussed earlier in the episode, because when they get in the boats and get over the channel and arrive at our island, they're already in the boats. And because of international maritime law, we have an obligation to those people not to drown them in the sea. We can't just turn them away now. They're in the boats. They're on our shore, essentially. They're in our waters. They become our responsibility. And we have to deal with that. That's a consequence of leaving the EU. If we didn't leave the EU, we could have said, sorry, you're in EU waters. You've come from over there. Go the fuck back over there. Go back to France. France can sort you out. You've come from France. You're in the water. You can go back to France. We're in the EU. But now we're not in the EU. So they've left France, the EU, and now they're in our waters. They're our problem. So that was another consequence of the Brexit. You can't just stop. If you want to stop the boats, you have to cooperate with France and find a way of stopping the boats from leaving France. That's an option. That should be worked on. That should be, looked into. But you didn't want to give all that money to France, that 100 billion. You said they weren't doing it very well. So the other option is that we patrol and, when I say patrol our borders, and there'll be places along the border that it's easier for these boats to dock and you get more problems. And those places should be more policed by border control, by having literally, like I said, stations built, people patrolling. And then when these people are taken from these boats, places to take them. I'm reiterating, repeating myself. Not prisons, not hotels, probably somewhere in the middle, but processing places to get them integrated into society within a month. Or processed out. Like if you're not going to have your asylum granted, then processed out. Like that's an option as well. Those things that could happen, then the boats would still come. Like you can't stop the people unless you're going to go to France and stop them from leaving, in which case you have to do the same sort of thing as I've described, but stop people getting in the sea on boats. And it's really hard to do. It is really hard to do, but that needs more strict control and policing at their end, but it is hard to do. You have to accept a certain amount of this, and thankfully in our economy it's such a small number compared to the big problems in our society. Like I say it so often, but it's such a small number that it's easy to sort out. So yeah, we can do that. But Alan's suggestion of we've got to stop the boats, I really wonder what his suggestion is going to. There's my quite reasonable. I should be a politician. That's a quite reasonable and achievable way of dealing with this problem to at least gain some sort of sense of control over it. I wonder what Alan's suggestion is here.
70 million for 1 day's worth. We've got a backlog of these for years. It's billions of pounds. doesn't stop there. What is the loss to, let's say, Southend, of all their best hotels being full of immigrants with no money?
The loss there is that those hotels are absolutely full to the brim of paying guests, Alan, and the money goes straight into the pockets. They don't even have to run the full staff like they used to. Like, the staff is different now. They don't have to do room service. Like, it's just full of paying guests, whereas before they were rack and ruin. No one was staying in the hotel in Southend, not all year round like this. They were empty. They were losing money hand over fist, decrepit buildings that inevitably would close. Are you stupid?
£50 pocket money a week. What's the cost to the shops of Southend?
The cost of the shops of Southend is that they get more customers with £50 in their pocket. So it increases the amount of people in their shops spending money.
The pubs of Southend.
I don't know if these immigrants are desperate to get in the pubs, but again, same principle. The cost is that you might have more people coming in and spending money.
The takeaways of Southend.
The takeaways, well, they probably got more people to work in the kitchen. I'm joking. But again, like, you know, these are all individually or collectively the businesses in the area, and maybe they could even employ these people. Like, you know, it's just like the cost to the local economy of having more people around. It's not a cost.
They lost revenue in that town.
They lost revenue. Why? Because they can't deliver to the hotel. You think the local takeaway was doing big business delivering to the hotel before the immigrants arrived? Are you fucking insane? Like, they closed down Butlins and stuff, didn't they? Like, it's not because of immigrants. It's because those places were going by the way because people want to go on holiday outside of the country. Like, the tradition of going to the local, like, touring it across Britain in the COVID times. Like, more people went on local holidays, didn't they? But I just, is he stupid?
It's going to bankrupt us.
It's not going to bankrupt us. Like, oh my God.
What's the cost of the marches through London to the shops in London?
They don't do as much trade. Yeah. What's the cost of the internet to the shops in London? What's the cost of 10, 15 years of Tory policy to the high street?
What's the cost?
I'm sure there's going to be fewer haircuts done that day. Fewer charity shops are going to be shifting product. I don't know. Actually, maybe the other way around might happen, where if you're running like a fucking like fast food restaurant, you might get loads of people, or they boycotted a lot of them, didn't they? But like, you might keep it open because it's a protest. It's not a violent disturbance. So you might keep your shop open and have loads of customers. I don't know. It depends what you're selling.
Of these riots reverberating around the world, and countries saying, don't come to England.
What? Don't come to England? You're the one that's saying don't come to England, you fucking knob.
Countries are advising their people not to come to England. It's too dangerous.
I feel confused at this point. I'm just going to grab a screenshot of that, even though it's still low res on my lovely monitor, because Alan is always low res. But this seems really confused to me. Like, what's he talking about?
That's us. England.
Yeah, and it's your right-wing arseholes that have made it dangerous for the people that are foreign. You are the reason that they're saying this. People like you and the stuff you're saying.
UK. Do not go to the UK. It's too dangerous. Can you imagine the fall in tourist money? When I was a lad, I used to see all this.
Illegal is a bad term to use for asylum seekers and people who are trafficked here. Good point, yeah. It's just like the sort of, you know, I try and differentiate, because there is an argument, obviously, about this that makes sense. You shouldn't just have random people just crossing the border. In today's day and age, the way things are, I mean, I would argue in favour of freedom of movement globally, because I think it's a positive thing for societies in general. Like, that's a bigger meta argument. But in today's day and age, the way things are, obviously we're not going to just say, hey, if you want to arrive on boats, if you want to arrive on buses, trains, whatever, don't worry about passport control. Britain's open. No, that's not how it is it? It was a bit more like that with Europe, because obviously with freedom of Europe between movement, like freedom of movement between Europe, like that was good for us, for me. Like, I could go to Europe without having my passport checked. So I do believe in it as an overarching principle. But it, like, in terms of legal migration, there's a much bigger number of legal migrants, and Like, you know, no one's really, I don't think, arguing against it, although some people might, I don't know. But yeah, that's why I say illegal, I suppose. Yeah. Other countries have put out warnings not to come here because of the riots. I think Australia's one. Fair enough. I don't know why Australians shouldn't come here. I mean, it's just a general thing, isn't it? There's civil unrest, so they'll probably have a government website that says, currently, if you're thinking of travelling to the UK, be warned, there is civil unrest. It's just fair enough. And it's these people that have caused it.
Going on in the Middle East. I think, oh my God, how do they live like it? We've got it. We've now got it. And they're coming at the cost of 70 million a day extra on top of the billions we're spending already. And they don't see it. It's like watching Rome burn, isn't it? Oh yeah, another 70 million gone today. Oh, never mind.
It's like watching Rome burn. The irony of that is that, I mean, I talk about this often, and everyone does, but it's kind of like a funny aspect to this racism that they do, is that when the Romans invaded Britain, there were already people here. They were called the Celts, and they're the original British people. The Celts. Just trying to get a big picture. That's big enough, isn't it? So there were already indigenous British people way back, you know, before Christ, weren't there? Goes back to like the Stone Age in Britain and stuff, I think. So there were indigenous British people. They'd developed and they were here as like tribal groups, Celtic tribes, Boudica people like that, eh? And like the Romans came in, the very first one in 43 AD. 43. That didn't make it very far. That's that red one down there, just like potted around down there and then had to go home. Because the Celts are a bit difficult. And then they come back in 43 to 47. So Claudius's first invasion was a fail, but they come back then. Aulus Pistius pushed on into the centre of the country there. And then Osterus Scalpula there, 42 to 52. So this is really early history, but look, see how they're running around up here? Like, you've got all these places now, Roman roads, places like York, you know, places that they know. Like York, it's very British, isn't it? It's so British. York, it's like Britain itself. British, you know, Red Rose. Is it Red Rose of York or is it the White Rose of... Anyway, like the roses. But it's all founded on Roman invasion, that is. And you can see here, they push this way. See how they push this way? And they stop here. There's a mountain range, it makes it difficult. And the Celts themselves, the people that used to live here, they got forced out this way, down in the south of the country as well. And this is where Alan might be able to claim some sort of, you know, original British heritage. And I don't think he can, but they got pushed right down into Cornwall and into the furthest peninsula over here. And that's why they like have a different flag, like, and a sense of... I mean, there are different places in the UK with different flags, you know, but like a sense of identity that's slightly different from the rest of the UK slightly. And that's why we have Wales and Scotland. Like, Scotland's a famous example, isn't it? Because of Hadrian's Wall. And it took the Romans a lot of time and struggle to get around Scotland. They basically gave up in the end and said, fuck you. But the Celts were pushed out by the Romans. It goes Crackvian, CR. Then there was the Angles, Saxons. They're not original British people, they're more invaders. And then there was the Vikings, the Normans. The Romans came back again, I think. Christianity changed the country. Like, you know, imagine Vikings invading, killing everyone, being like proper immigrant invaders, killing everyone, you know, like the Vikings, yeah? And then they like made settlements, and then you're like ancestors of Vikings, and you're stood in the country saying, this is my country, I want to take it back in my country, and like you're descendant of an invader. Like everyone pretty much in the sort of white racist nationalist department, most of them are not Celtic by origin. Like, those people have moved off to Scotland, Wales and Ireland. Like, they're the original British people. And a lot of the people, if they did their family tree, their DNA, all that stuff, I don't know when they want to stop. You know, I don't know when it goes back too far. But if they go back far enough or too far, they'll find they're not the indigenous population of this country, that they are descendants of invaders. Not just immigrants, but invaders. So, that, you know, it's a simple little history lesson, and I think it's repeated quite often, and like it's kind of like ignored by the right wing people like Alan. Like they kind of just don't give a fuck. Like it's just like they don't care. They're like, no, but my granddad lived here. Like, you know, it's like they just don't seem to. And if you're not going to go back that far, fair enough. But how back far do you stop? When and why? Like, if you're going to be dependent on heritage, then you should accept that your heritage means that you're not an indigenous person of this country, and therefore you can fuck off back. Like, it doesn't make sense, does it? Or maybe it's just right now. If you're born here now, then now you're English. But that obviously doesn't account for the people that have got different skin colour or culture. That, like, if you've got different parents and your parents are from Rwanda, maybe that doesn't. You see what I'm saying? So none of what he says actually makes sense. Exeter's got a Roman baths. There you go. But yeah, it doesn't make sense, does it? York's got a big Viking history as well, yeah. And like, to me, it was invaders and it was like, you know, wars and it was like weird, the olden days. But like when you look back on it, I see it as a rich tapestry of, like, a rich melting pot of cultures, DNA, tapestry, whatever you want to call it, of people that ended up making what Britain is today, and always has been a nation of lots of different people. Like, we went around the world and did an empire. Like, we were the ones that did that. So, like, that's one of the strengths of our country. And if we hadn't had that, if it was just the Celts, if no one had come here, like the Romans never came here, if no one had invaded, let's say instead of the sea, it was like a massive chasm and or a great big wall had been, magic wall, all right, something like an ice wall, yeah, no one ever came here, then we wouldn't have been as advanced. We wouldn't have had the society we have today. You can't just say without any outside influence we would have done so much better. Like, all the influence that the Romans brought with them was civil. Like, in a way, this is what we did with our empire as well, which is positives and negatives. You've got to accept it. There were a lot of real human costs to this, so obviously a lot of negatives, but taking civilization around the world, trade, railways, hospitals, schools, like, you can enrich a society with all your knowledge, your wealth and knowledge, like, and so that's an option that is not the societies that we enriched in that way. Like, we're the original ones that did that, went into their countries and sort of took over and invaded with our empire, and then those people that then come back to our country, like, people in our country now say, you are not welcome here, you can get out. They're fucking part of the British Empire, most of those countries. Rwanda's part of the Commonwealth. So, yeah, it's this funny melting pot that, like, you can't have it both ways, and you can't have it Alan's way, because it doesn't exist. There is no original white Britain. There is no, like, you know, there is no original people unmolested by foreigners. Like, that didn't ever exist. It's never existed. So what he wants is a racist right-wing ideologue's view of a society. It's a fantasy, and that's Alan's world, isn't it? It's Alan's world all over, living in these mad fantasies. But in the reality of the real world, the fact that it can't ever exist and never has existed should make people think that maybe we've got a different sort of politics to get on with, actually living our lives, instead of arguing over stuff that can never happen and will never happen.
Play a fiddle by Romeburn.
Fiddle by Romeburn.
You've lost Birmingham, you've lost Bradford, you've near all the...
You haven't lost to Birmingham. They all came out in Alan Rock to defend it. That's the point, Alan. Like, you didn't lose it to your right-wing immigrants. I told you this would happen with Birmingham. Like, have you seen Alan Rock in Birmingham? I don't want to play the videos because people think it's like bad rioting. A bunch of youths did break up had a go at a bit of a pub. They smashed some windows in a pub and attacked a couple of people at the pub. And it made me wonder if they know the people at the pub because it's their local area. Like, you know, old grievances maybe. But in the main, and the elders of the community did go out and stop that and say, this is silly, stop it. And, you know, fair enough, those things should be dealt with. But in the main, it was just all the people that lived there came out on the streets and said, come on then. And nobody did come on then, because, like, you're not going to go and fucking do that up Alan Rock with everyone out there on the streets telling you to fucking come on then, are you? And I think that was cool. Like, there were white people in that group. It wasn't just all bad Muslims that had the wrong colour. There were white people in that group as well. There were the people that lived in Alan Rock came out and said, fuck off. And you couldn't even start a right-wing protest up there. You couldn't even, like, you know, cough the word Farage. Like, you wouldn't. Not so big now, are they, when they're completely outnumbered by good people from the local area?
London's gone.
London's gone.
And you might think, well, I'm all right, Jack, in Scotland and Wales, Cornwall. You're not. Because it spreads. When they build up...
See the irony of that? See the irony of that? You might think you're all right in Scotland or Wales or Cornwall because but people spread. People in Ireland and Cornwall and Scotland and Wales, as I said, Alan, are the original people way back that got spread and pushed, and they didn't get eradicated by all the invaders. They've held strong all this time. So I don't think they need to worry about a fucking bunch of people on a dinghy. Like, their established cultures will persist.
Oh, they go to the nearest town next to Rochdale. Coming to you. Your hotels.
Here we go.
Your high street.
This is where I think you could be in danger of inciting rioting. This is where I think you could be breaking the law. I'll just rewind this bit. I think this is weird. Like, how do I get this to the police? Like, maybe I should take little clips of it and send it to the police. So, you know, somebody note down this moment, 1310. Or if you're clipping it, you know, this might be one of the clips. I don't know. We should all just make clips of Alan and send them to police in case he gets arrested. In case he's actually breaking the law.
Play a fiddle while Rome burns. You've lost Birmingham, you've lost Bradford, you've nearly all of London's gone. And you might think, well, I'm all right, Jack, in Scotland and Wales, Cornwall.
Where's my stuff?
You're not. Because it spreads. When they build up Rochdale, they go to the nearest town next to Rochdale. Coming to you. Your hotels. Your high streets. Your everything. Your way of life. Now, it didn't matter. When the Windrush people came from the Commonwealth.
It didn't matter when the Windrush people came from the Commonwealth.
When we needed doctors, nurses, street cleaners, everything. Come in. We brought them in. Fitted package and everything. They were people of colour, right? I got it right now.
No.
Colour.
You've got that wrong, Alan. In today's day and age, we just say black because we're not racists.
But they called themselves Winston and Elizabeth. And saluted the flag and loved the Queen. We had a bit of trouble, integration, but they integrated. And now people of colour are fantastic. Hindus, Sikhs, Gurkhas, Chinese, all integrated.
Integrated. He said he means integrated. And what he means there, and he's not right, because I think his experience of meeting Chinese people would be partially biased towards his local restaurant, maybe. I'm such a shit when I make these jokes, but integrated. He's not right, though, because a lot of these different cultures still maintain their own cultural identity, and he said it was acceptable because they changed their names and they became more anglicised. So if you want to come here and like call yourself Winston and Elizabeth and pretend to be white, then you're fine, you can fit in. But if you want to continue to either display the nomenclature or visual identity or cultural identity that you, from the place that you're born or have come from in any, if you want to have any other sort of sense of identity, that's unacceptable. That's what Alan's just said.
Until Tony Blair come along.
Who else is in chat tonight? Who's in chat tonight? It's a late night one, isn't
to
it?
have a war with the Middle East.
I keep
Syria.
getting tickles on my nose because my hair was, I've not got my hat on.
No, they're not stupid. Gaddafi, Saddam Hussein, all those guys, they wouldn't let anybody out of their countries.
Oh my God.
You want to go to Europe? Well, you're not leaving here.
They were
And they
horrific.
ruled it with an iron fist.
Yeah.
Because that's what they had to do when you've got tribes. When you have 8 or 9 tribes, they're going to kill each other if you let them do it. So we let them send their tribes over here with their medieval way of thinking about women, their medieval thinking of sex, the medieval thinking on we're going to take over your country. We hate your country. We hate what you stand for. Your women are to be used, Rochdale. And I'm not lying. Thousands of young girls were raped in Rochdale. And I don't know how many thousand around Britain. And we stood by. And the police stood by.
Fucking horrific, isn't it? Because only Asians do sex crimes. Jimmy Savile, Alan Savile. Now look what Andrew Tate advocates for in his content, the way he treats women and talks about them like objects that need to respect him through his abuse. Do you think this is just a foreign problem then, Alan? Or do you think that British women have suffered at the hands of white men, be they military men or policemen or, like, you know, we've had literally people murder their spouses in the news from both of those institutions over the last year. Like, are you insane with the way you're putting this at the door of immigrants?
And the politicians stood by. And only now it's just sneaking out little bits of information. But the politicians say anything about it? No.
What?
Is it any wonder?
Did any politicians talk about any of the abuse in Rochdale? No.
That we're frightened for our children when 800 more came yesterday. And we're already full.
Well, there we go. We're already full. How are we full? We're not having any more babies this year then, because there's going to be fucking loads of them more than there are people coming in on boats. We're not full. It's a stupid thing to say, and that is the rhetoric of the nationalist right wing. So again, I wonder how close he's coming to being arrested with this language, essentially. I don't know exactly what this was. Update, she's been arrested. A Tory councillor's wife has been identified. She's a childminder. And what did she say? This is what she said to get herself arrested. Mass deportation now. Set fire to all the fucking hotels full of the bastards for all I care. That is pretty bad, isn't it? That is pretty fucking bad. While you're at it, take the treacherous government and politicians with them. I feel physically sick knowing what these families will now have to endure. If that makes me racist, so be it. Okay, I don't know what she was specifically referring to there, but obviously the fires and the hotels, we know what she's referring to there, but the bit about the families enduring, I suppose she means Stockport, but she said, mass deportation now, set fire to all the fucking hotels, full of the bastards for all I care, and that's the thing I think that's got her arrested. So if we can find anything, I think Alan has not quite gone that far yet. Mass deportation now, I think he's basically nearly there with that. I think that's box ticked. But set fire to the hotels, he hasn't said that. So I think the incitement to riot, isn't it? It's about that next. It's about that. What have they arrested her on? Suspicion of inciting racial hatred. Actually, inciting racial hatred is vague enough, isn't it? Is he not inciting racial hatred here? Saying these bad people are doing these bad things. Is he not doing that? I need you in chat to call it out. I need you in chat to say, like, you know, when you think he's inciting racial hatred, call it out. Because if he does it 4 or 5 times, even if it's like a little bit, oh, I don't know, if he keeps doing it and he's done it for an hour and a half, the way things are right now, like that woman got arrested for a tweet, like the way things are right now, if he's done an episode on Rumble, anywhere, YouTube, you know, the internet, where he's inciting racial hatred at this time right now, then surely he's in line to be arrested. And like I said, I don't know if it's up to me to clip these things and send them to police. I'm not really a grass myself, am I? But against racists, clip them and send them to police, or just to send the police this link and say, this is the episode, he's a racial hatred stirrer, and let them deal with it. You know, let them decide which clips to use. Do you know what I mean? Because they're the experts. I think maybe it's that, isn't it? But I really feel like as we move through, we're only 15 minutes in, so if anyone else thinks that we are inciting, or that Alan is exciting racial hatred, you big up Submit Audacity. Thank you for the gifted tier sub. Das Carrot got that. Thank you. Nigel says, if Animate Audacity gives me another gifted tier sub, thank you very much. Skippy Driver has picked that up. I don't know why the things aren't coming up on the screen to say, "Whey, gifted tier sub." I don't know why that's not happening. Maybe there's a glitch in the system. Nigel says, if he explicitly calls for a riot, that would be considered an arrestable offence. I guess, like, if that's the calling for the riot, but isn't the offence there inciting racial hatred? I'm just going to type it in, actually. I'm going to, like, the riot is one thing. That's definitely a thing. Yeah, like inciting racial hatred. I wonder what the law is for this though. Like prosecution guidance, CPS. Doody-doody-doo. Any incident or crime which is perceived by the victim or any other person to be motivated by hostility or prejudice based on a person's race. Yeah, but these aren't incidents and crimes, are they? They're just his talkings. Any incident or crime which is perceived by the victim to be motivated by hostility or prejudice based on a person's religion. So what he's doing is that. It's just whether he's doing incidents or crimes, I suppose, isn't it? But what they're doing on Twitter is just posting an opinion. So, like, what's the crime? I suppose the crime is inciting a riot, and the racial part of it is for racial reasons, isn't it? Like if I go on the internet and say we should burn down the library, then that's inciting a riot. That's bad, inciting violence. But if I say we should burn down the library because of the Muslims, then I'm doing it for a racial reason. So now I'm breaking this particular law, the racist and religious hate crime prosecution guidance is what I'm looking at. Is that what I'm looking at? What am I looking for? Inciting racial hatred. College of Policing, inciting hatred. I honestly, I'm not trying to be funny here, and like, you know, also I tell you what I'm not doing is I'm not trying to cause Alan undue stress or anything like that. I'm not trying to like cause him to be trolled in his real life. I really believe that he might be breaking the law here, so I just want to investigate and make sure that if he is breaking the law at this very delicate time in society, that he, like the other people.
Where's Nancy?
Thank you very much. That one come up on the screen. Thank you very much for the gifted tier sub to Mountain Windswift. Big ups, you big chuffers, you lovely chuffers. Thank you very much for that. If Alan is breaking the law in this way at this very delicate time, and there are serious consequences to that in society, then like he deserves the full consequence of this law to be thrown at him. And it would be like Alan did this himself on YouTube as well. We didn't necessarily expect him to get kicked off exactly the way he did. I expected he would go. I expected he wouldn't stick around on YouTube for very long. A year was quite a long time for me, to be honest. I thought it had gone on quite long, but he did go, and YouTube did obviously agree that he was a nasty, horrible person. YouTube's quite left-wing, I think. You know, certainly the people that work in those offices are, aren't they? The people that look over your case and all that. So I did expect him to go. You know, I did expect he wouldn't last that long because he was a horrible, hateful person that was saying all this horrible stuff. But he had this way of putting himself in his own trouble. Like, I didn't make him do what he did to get him kicked off. He did it himself, if that makes sense. Here, same thing. Like, I haven't made him do an episode on race hate, but he's trod right in the big cow pat of race hate here. And, you know, incitement, what are we calling it? Inciting hatred. So let's have a look. Demonstrating incitement. The three incitement to hatred offences are not identical and should be considered separately. What are they? The nature of these offences can lead to conflict between individuals and groups about the balance between human rights. Whether a particular action comes within the behaviour covered by the offences is up to the court to decide, yeah? So maybe I'm looking at the wrong document. I just want to know what is an arrestable offence for inciting racial hatred, like whether going on Rumble and saying that we need to send them all back and they're costing us all this money and all this stuff, and like how far he has to go, because we're only 15 minutes into his episode. Intention to incite serious violence is listed there. Stirring up an act to make provision about offences involving stirring up hatred against persons on racial or religious grounds. It's about stirring up the hatred, isn't it? Okay, here we go. This is the actual law. In this part, religious hatred means hatred against a group of persons defined by a reference to religious belief. We know what we mean. A person who uses, so these are use of words or behaviour or display of written materials. This is Alan. right? And it also goes on to publishing written material as well, publishing what someone else said. But this is Alan. A person who uses threatening words or behaviour or displays any material which is threatening is guilty of an offence if he intends to stir up religious hatred. So is he threatening? That's something we need to question. An offence under this section, God, my nose is really tickling me. It's doing my nut in, and it's the outside of this part of my nose where my hair, like I said, like it just hangs down that exact length, and it tickles me. And now it's tickled me. I'm tickled, and it's just like going to annoy me the whole time. I should have worn my cap. My hair's all fuzzy. It's my day off. I've got to come in on my day off, wear my cap. Right. An offence under this section may be committed in a public or private space, except that no offence is committed where the words of behaviour are used by a person inside a dwelling and are not heard or seen. Okay, so if it's in your own home, you're allowed to do as much racial hatred as you want to whomever you want in your own home. I can, like I said about, do you remember when I said about saying the N-word in the privacy of your own home to hear the way it sounds because you've never said it before? Because I do not go around using that word. But once in my, I was like, I've never said that. Like, said it out loud, like, oh God, I hope no one heard me say that, sort of thing. Like, you're allowed to do as much racial hatred in your own home, but you're not allowed to obviously do it on the internet. Like, a constable may arrest without warrant anyone he reasonably suspects is committing an offence. That's interesting, is you don't even need the warrant. I suppose most arrestable offences you don't. In proceedings for an offence under this section, it's an offence to prove you were inside a dwelling and no reason to believe the words or behaviour would be seen or heard. Okay, so no one can catch you out by recording you in your own home. It doesn't apply to words or behaviour displayed for. This section does not apply to words or behaviour used or written material displayed solely for the purpose of being included in a programme service. I don't know what that means. I hope it doesn't mean if you're doing it for the telly you can't get done, because Anna might be able to argue that one. If you publish or distribute material, then you're also guilty if it's bad. So, if you can't say Hitler said it, I'm just retweeting it. Public performance of play. If public performance of a play is given, which involves threatening words or racial hatred, then it can be stirring up religious hatred. So you can't do. We can't put on a play and say, right, I'm doing a play about the Jews in the war, and then go and put it on at the protest and have everyone going, oh, I'm a bad Jew, I'm getting gassed. Oh, it's just a play, we're just pretending. Like, you can't do that. It's stirring up, so, or that might not be a good example, but you can't pretend you're faking it, so it doesn't matter about rehearsal, recording, or enabling. If people can see it and you're doing it, it's racial hatred. So they're talking about performances and plays. So, like, obviously we don't need to worry about the Theatres Act. If people play or show visual stuff that's threatening, then they're stirring up religious hatred. It's ultimately threatening's coming up a lot. So I'm saying that you need to be making a threat. And I think that's what that woman was doing here, wasn't it? Is that she was saying they should burn down the places. That's threatening. Like a threat of violence. I don't think it's interesting that to make any sort of threatening language, it doesn't imply violence here. It doesn't state it in the law. But what is the threat? What are you threatening? I suppose you could threaten other things like blackmail or I don't know, like you could threaten exposure. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of other things you could threaten. Like other than violence. But yeah, threats have to be part of this. So you can get a warrant for people to come in your house if they suspect you've got material like that. So if you've got a load of leaflets in your house, then they can come in and get them, and you. Or if you've been doing it on your computer. So Alan might be in line for that. They might question if some of his material turned out to be a bit questionable, then you might say, what's he got on his computer? That's always something I think about Alan. And then they're on about all this sort of stuff, freedom of expression, so this doesn't prevent you from being able to critique things. And it goes on about parliament procedure. So, yeah, basically what I was looking for was the real definition of exactly what we're talking about. And the thing that's come up quite a lot here is it's about threatening words, or the threat word came up a lot. So threatening words or behaviour is a guilty offence if you intend to stir up racial hatred, and it's intent that's important. And I don't like laws like that myself. You know, I don't like the fact that you have to prove intent, because it's very hard to prove. It's about what someone thinks. It's like a thought crime. They can be recorded to Ofcom, big ups, Online Safety Act. You're right, he's not critiquing. You're right, he's not doing that. It's really interesting, this is. I'm learning something about the online safety and hatred, and, you know, because it's all going on now. Like, Alan's part of this conversation on the internet. I'm interested to learn. Like, and now I've learned, because, like, we're on the online, aren't we? I'm not likely to accidentally religiously hatred someone. Like, I'm not going to be doing that. So, but knowing that I could go online and basically say something bad about someone, like a Jew, say, oh, bad things about the Jew, that would be bad, I suppose, in one aspect. Maybe there are crimes associated with that, but in order to be arrested for inciting racial hatred, I would have to say, and then let's go and burn down the Jew's house or something like that. You know, I mean, obviously not saying that here. I'm giving an example of what you could say to, you know, but it would be that extra and then let's, wouldn't it? It would be that extra incitement of a threat, or if you don't, then we will, or something like that. You know, those sort of threats that need to go along with it. So I don't think Alan, I'm unlikely, you know, I'm guessing it's unlikely that he will make a threat like that, because he's not that bolshy, is he? He's not the leader of the pack. He's not like, you get back in those boats or we'll fucking drown you. Or, you know, he's not going to say that, is he? I don't think. But we'll look out for it. We'll look out for any time he's threatening or intimidating. And if any of the material that he shares, if any, and he uses a lot of the news, doesn't he? So it's not likely to be including threats. But if it did, then it's threats. That's what we want to look for. It's funny, because that's what he did to me, isn't it? He threatened me a lot on the internet as well. Like, right at the start, he said, "Good luck with your channel, son," which was a veiled threat, as in, like, you know, you're going to have troubles, or just a sort of demeaning statement that I'm not very good, but good enough to steal from. So yeah, good luck with your channel, son. You know, good luck with your threats on the internet, because they're going to get you in trouble.
So we took to the streets to complain. And I'm quite proud of the Armchair Detective channel, myself and my spanners.
Well, you shouldn't be. It's an absolute fucking disaster. You made a load of money, you pissed it up the wall, and you might be sat on some of it for your retirement, but come on, it's an absolute shit show. It's about you and 10 people, you're all racist, you're all horrible, no one likes you. Like, it's just a fucking disaster. You're on Rumble because you got kicked off YouTube. You can't hack it on TikTok. What are you doing?
3 little girls that were
paying for views. That's the success. You're paying for your own views. Oh, what did I click then? Did I click the advert by mistake? I clicked the yard sign out. Oh no, that's a mistake. Close that. I don't want to buy any yard signs from Sticker Mule. Sorry, that was the adverts on Rumble.
just over a week ago, believe it or not. We saw that Channel 3 misinformation, that it was a Muslim lad and they named him. I said, no, I'm not going to give that out. I'm not going to give that out. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, but you pretended it was real.
To do it.
You didn't question whether it was real or not, and it wasn't Channel 3 that did it. Oh, he means Channel 3 TikTok leak, which was attributed to a news source from somewhere like Russia called Channel 3, but...
Because I've been caught before with misinformation.
You've been
caught?
Probably
planted by the Russians or something like that. But that then sparked... The next night when they have a memorial for the girls, just up the road, there's a mosque.
Now he's just going over the old shit.
And that was it. The tinderbox was lit. Now, I know I'm, like, suspicious of the world and the globalization of the world. I believe that...
No, Alan, you are just suspicious and you've been confused. You see, again, here he is. He's going to be arguing anti-globalization because he's, like, into Alex Jones and shit. That means he's an idiot and he's been confused by the right wing who have taken control. Here we go. If he's going to espouse globalism and say it's bad, like, you want to watch out if you yourself are also an idiot and think the same things as Alan.
All countries with strong...
Basically, David Icke, you know, well done, David Icke.
Identities of a country, us, America, France, Germany, Sweden, Australia, big countries like that. They've got to take away our like feisty, we look after our country. They want us all to be the same. They want us all to be the same. They want us to be full of the Middle East people, full of them in every country, and we're diluted and diluted till we've got nothing to say. Won't show our flag, won't say anything. They've got no, our culture's gone, our history's gone. They've already rewritten history book.
As we said when we looked at the numbers, that project would take thousands of years. And maybe it will happen, but generationally, you won't know about it. And you'd be like, the people you want to be asking the questions of are like the children's children, because it's not going to happen tomorrow. They can't make it happen quickly. It's a sort of, it's like arguing about what you think is going to happen in 200 years. It doesn't really matter to any of us because none of us be here. You want to leave the world in a good state for the next, leave it good for the next people, don't you? Like, so your children don't suffer, but you won't be here. It won't be like, it's kind of like a moot point.
We become a faceless country, don't we?
And it probably won't happen like that. I mean, it
Totally.
most likely won't.
We're faceless. Too scared of our own shadow. Too scared to leave our house. Too scared to walk out. Too scared to say what we think. Too scared of everything. Because if we do, we're a racist. And if we do, we're right wing.
No.
4 million people voted.
No, Alan, that's a misconception as well. A lot of people have been saying this. If I say this, then apparently I'm right wing. But I'm not right wing. It's just you're telling me I'm right wing. Listen, if you're right wing and you think these things, then you're right wing. And I'm sorry you don't like the label, but it is the badge you must wear. Just because you don't understand it doesn't mean that you can just say no. And that's the sort of hallmark of these idiots. They don't accept the world. They don't understand it. They want it their way, but it's not.
Form. Are they all like right-wing Nazis? Or are they people that are afraid for their children? I spoke to a woman that works in London. I've got a lot of friends in London.
You don't have a lot of friends in London. The right-wing Nazis scared everyone's children when they smashed up the streets.
She worked in a shop like Harrods, but not Harrods, right? She catches a bus to work. In the winter, she comes out of work and it's dark. She's scared for her life.
Why? Because,
She's scared.
like Sarah Everard, a white policeman might kidnap her and kill her, or because of people that are from another country.
To walk anyway. She's not scared. She's not like a scaredy cat. She works in London, Regent Street.
Who are you on about?
She can't walk home because she gets followed by the.
Who could this be? Who could this be? Any ideas? Anyone in chat? Who could this be? Woman that he knows works in London, Regent Street. Who could this possibly be? Anyone? Anyone in chat? Ideas? I've got an idea for you. Could it be someone he's related to? I think it might be one of his daughters. Family member or something, because he doesn't know anyone. He doesn't have any friends. And it could be his ex-wife or it could be his daughter. And I think it's just the sort of thing that a certain... I don't know, I'm beating around the bush. I'm talking about Scarlett. I was going to say a certain shade of red might enjoy, but obviously that's the sort of thing she'd be well into, isn't it? Working down in Regent Street, wherever it is, whatever she's doing. I'm not going to diss her. Don't know what she's doing, but that sounds like, it's up her street. So when he says he's got friends, I think maybe it's her. And the reason she's scared is because you put the fear of God into her because you're a racist and London's quite multicultural. She shouldn't. If she doesn't like foreign people like that, Alan, maybe she won't enjoy London.
These guys. She has to get a bus.
And she's just telling you, Alan, what she's really doing is she's not getting a bus. She's riding she's riding a train home.
And then a taxi for the last bit.
No, I'm not going off with these men.
But she can't walk.
She can't walk. Told you. He said it. I'm only joking.
One night she was
Is this incitement? There's no threat here, is there? But
followed all the way home. And she had to go in next door neighbours. But she was scared to go in her own house so he'd know where she lived.
Who's he talking about here? It must be someone quite close to him.
It's not lies, guys.
It's not lies. It might just be that he made it up then. This is a new face I've not seen him pull before. Well, that's a face. That's a face. I tell you what, that's a face. Let's have that. Grumpy.
One night she was followed all the way home. And she had to go in next door neighbours. But she was scared to go in her own house so he'd know where she lived. This is not lies, guys.
It is lies, isn't it? Alan's really bad for it.
But no one's seeing it. It's like we all got these like blinkers on. Oh, well, it's not happening in Scotland, not happening in Cornwall, it's not happening in my street, not happening in my road. What about when it does? I saw a video yesterday of a street
What about when it does? Is that threatening?
in Middlesbrough where there's a riot. Working class street, mixed population, but mostly white. Every window smashed, every car smashed.
That I saw that video as well. That was terrible, and I think a lot of those houses where they were smashing the windows were new builds and there was nobody in them. But it's obviously still terrible. But I think Alan's misinterpreting what he was seeing there.
On the street. You won't see that on the news.
I think you might see it on the news. It was on the news.
You won't see him say anything about
In fact,
the middle of
I
Birmingham
totally saw it on Channel 4 News.
being taken over.
Alan Rock is not being taken over, and the 40-minute video that you didn't want to show at the start of the episode, Alan, on YouTube, I watched that. That's Channel 4 News from yesterday. You saw exactly that in it, because I watched it. I know. Like, you were completely... Like, what he's done is he's watched the video on Channel 4 News, and now he's come on Rumble to say, you won't see that in the news, but I've seen it. You've seen it on the fucking news on YouTube, you fucking prick.
By a gang of masked men with not a policeman in sight,
There were police.
where they went in a pub and beat a guy up.
They did do that.
Not a policeman in sight.
Well, there were... Not in the pub, but there were police in the area.
2 hours.
They live there.
We've got people in here beating up one of our people, says the landlord. No police.
That's not exactly... Hiding under the counter. We've got people in here beating up one of our people. Our people?
That's okay, because they're just protecting their mosque.
No, those people were out in force on the street because there was information passed around on social media that there would be a right-wing protest in their area. That's why they were out on the street, because they were worried they were going to have to defend their own community against right-wing thugs, because that idea was spread on social media. So you've misrepresented that as well.
It's gone crazy, guys.
Elon Musk is bizarre. Like, you see him saying about other things in the rest of the world, and you think, well, he's saying that about American politics, or he's saying that. When he says it about us, it looks fucking bizarre, doesn't it? That's the thing with that. But it's not just the first time he's done it. He's constantly tweeting stuff like that.
To be a
That's why he bought Twitter.
white working class person now, you're at the bottom of the pile.
No, you're not.
You won't get a council house.
Yes, you will.
You won't get a doctor's appointment.
Or
You won't get a free dentist.
A doctor's appointment is not predicated on anything to do with immigration. That's because of the fucking government that we've had for the last 15 years. They stole all the money. I've explained it to you. I agree with these points. You can't point at the... Like, this is the same as the Nazis pointing at the Jews for the problems in their society. Like, if you want to take it to the next logical step, Alan, please do, because it will become a criminal offence on the internet. And this is what these people do. They'll say, our country's full, and then just leave that as an idea for you to work out. You know, they won't say what to do, but they'll say something like, oh, the country is full, though. You know, the country, there's not enough, you know, can't keep taking these people in. Country is full. Then what? Who's going to come up with a good idea? Well, the thick people come up with the ideas then, don't they? You seed the ideas. That's part of the problem, is that these people on social media can get away with some of this stuff because they don't quite say the thing. But you know they think it because they said the thing before it.
And you certainly won't get a council house. Because they're all going, you know where.
I thought all those people were in the hotels.
And these people will come in and they will have benefits. They will have 5 kids and they'll have benefits.
Oh my God.
And we will pay the rent on the house they get eventually.
Alan, somebody who's relying on the state for your own funding at the moment seems a bit rich.
And we'll give them loads of benefits for the kids. And they grow up hating us. And they don't have to contribute anything to the NHS. These boat people, they don't have to pay anything, no stamp.
They don't all grow up hating us. Some of them even work in the NHS.
No income tax. No, nothing. We have paid in for 40, 50 years.
Everyone in the audience who's hearing in their head, no income tax, no VAT, no money back, no guarantee. Alan's hearing it too.
And they take away our allowance for heating in the winter. I'm very sure they're going to take away our pension soon. I'm very sure that you people in your 50s are not going to get a pension. They won't have any money to pay you with. How can they, when they're spending billions a year on these illegal immigrants? How can they afford to pay you a pension?
You get them all in society, working jobs, and they contribute to the society and it grows, and then the economy's better, and then there's more money.
What will happen to the schools? I don't know. I fear for the children not born yet. Already, 1 in 5 people in England weren't born here. 1 in 5 weren't born here. We're an island. 30 years, 50% of the population won't have been born here.
Despite Alan's strange statistic that he's not backing up. 70 million people, of which I think over 60 million are white British on the tick box.
I was listening to a professor the other day, and we came
Professor Jordan Peterson, I would imagine.
to this to my spanners the other night. I said, look, Bangladesh, the students, they do their degree, and at the end of it, they're promised so many percentage chance of getting a job within the government, right? Now, this Prime Minister woman took that away from them and said, no, it's not going to give you any more. And she didn't bother, she just did, just like Stormer, you're not having it anymore. And the students rioted, right? Ended up, the army killed 300 of them.
Alan said just like Starmer, because he's losing his money for his winter fuel. But the Labour Party in principle are the ones that created the free education, the free NHS. They're the ones that did that, aren't they? And they argued in favour of free university education. Obviously that's gone now, but we could still fight to push that back. I think that one might be lost because it's a big industry, so it's going to be a hard fight to win that back. But in principle, Labour are the ones that want to do that. Keir Starmer is not the Prime Minister that's trying to take things away. That's been the government that we've had for the last fucking 15 years. They literally called it austerity so they could give the money to the banks. They literally called it austerity and gave the money to the banks. So I can't understand how Alan doesn't understand that. It's weird.
That didn't go down too well with the parents of the students. And it built up and built up and built up. And eventually, this Starmer woman, who's not called Starmer, she's called Prime Minister of Bangladesh, who lives in a big palace thing, starting to get worried. And did you know, said the professor, it only takes Starmer, she's called. That didn't go down too well with the parents of the students. And it built up and built up and built up. And eventually, this Starmer woman, who's not called Starmer, she's called Prime Minister of Bangladesh, who lives in a big palace thing, starting to get worried. And did you know, said the professor, it only takes 3% of the population to destroy the government, the police, and the army. 3%. We're 70 million. 3%, 70 million. It's like 2 million? No, say 2 million. So if 3% of our population say we're not having it, we're going to march on Buckingham Palace and take it. We're going to march on Parliament and take it. 30%, 3%, that would be 2 million people trampling through London, and they would destroy all before them. You wouldn't. Don't worry about you got an army.
If all the Muslims in the country marched upon London, okay, this is the premise that he's setting up, they could assert control of the government, maybe. They could put the king in the tower, they could chop off the king's head, mate. Don't do that, God save the king. But, like, what do you think they'd achieve? There'd be a lot of them, and it would be an issue. There'd be loads of people. But saying about the army, what about the police and all the other people in the country? About all the other people in the country. I think he might be right in saying that 3% is a large enough number of our population if you put them together to be like fucking loads of people on the day. But I don't know if he's correct in suggesting that 3%, like, because if you had an army, like a properly armed army invading with those numbers, then we might have an issue. But it's just, this is like some sort of like mental incapacity that he has, isn't it? It's like, we're asked to believe the principle that 2 million people might get together and march upon London, and in result, the people in London might just say, well, there's too many of you, we're not going to use the army or the police, or even just people, like, you've got the TAs, you've got, like, people would rise up, wouldn't they? Like, if you had, like, a civil war in the country like that, people would rise up, and then they'd quickly squash this fucking load of nonsense, even though there's 2 million of them, they'd squash it. But in lieu of that, they'll just take control of the country because they'll sit on the throne, so that's them in charge, like Game of Thrones, I suppose. Like, obviously what would happen in the UK if all those 2 million people went to march on London like that, right? The politicians and the powers that be, in inverted commas, they'd all leave immediately in their special cars and their little planes, and they'd be off in the helicopters, wouldn't they? Would you like to get in the helicopter, Mr. President? You know, that'd happen. So London would burn, there'd be, you know, rack and ruin and, you know, panic on the streets of London and all that, wouldn't there? Order would be promised, but there'd be riot police, and they'd be outnumbered, the riot police. So what we're going to do? Well, we're going to move to Birmingham, the second city, and have our parliament set up there immediately, and we'd turn it into national, what would it be like, national emergency. Then you could roll in the army. You don't ever really want to turn the army on the population. You never want to do that. We're not going to use the army to police these riots. The army are there to defend the population, not to police them. But, you know, you'd have to just take it on that these 2 million people need to be dealt with in London, and London needs to be reclaimed, yeah? And then that would happen because we would surround them with military force. Like, you'd have a bit of guerrilla. You might even, like, if you went this far, you might even have guerrilla fighting in the streets and stuff. We would take back London. Like, we've got so much strength in the rest of the country. There'd be so many people. Operation London Take Back. And then what would happen is all those 2 million people that had done that, they'd be dealt with, and, like, you know, it's very much like these riots in a way. These riots, the policing strategy is very clever. They allow the people to turn up. They allow them to throw the bricks, do whatever. They keep them in with the shields, like pen them in. After a while, in the evening, those people are a bit drunk and a bit bored, and they want to go and smoke a reefer and do something else, and they just fuck off. The others that don't get arrested when the numbers dwindle, and the ones that caused a bit extra trouble and threw a thing that was a bit wrong, they get arrested. The others get arrested later because they're all on camera. The longer you keep them there, the more likely they are to be on camera and also maybe to commit a crime. So you just arrest them all later. Let it burn out, arrest them all later. Unless there's something like, you know, unless someone's been hoisted up, you know, some really bad stuff is happening in the crowd, you can just sort of stand by and watch them just be idiots. Yeah, it's destruction of property, all that sort of stuff, but, you know, those crimes can be allowed to just sort of happen and burn out, can't they? Because you can fix property, and it's a lot harder to wade in and grab heads. But What's his pixie fluff? Prejudice, unfriendliness, antagonism, resentment and dislike. That's hate crime. I mean, this sounds like he's getting along the boat for that, doesn't it? Yeah, you're right. Alan just doesn't want the government. He thinks they're taking his money. Any criminal offence. There's no legal definition of hostility, so we use the everyday understanding: ill will, spite, contempt, prejudice. Yeah, okay. I'm just reading that, yeah. I think the problem we've got is, I think he's breaking that part of the intent, but it's the crime part that he's not doing yet. I don't think he's quite inciting. Like, if he said, turn up here and burn down the mosque, he's done. You know, if he said that, that's it. He's done a crime, yeah? But if he said, I don't know what the next thing we can possibly do is, he might get away with it, you know? Because he's a bit like that, isn't he? Like, a lot of them are. They say things like, the country's full. And then that leads people to think, well, we better not do X, Y, Z, or we had to do, you know, they don't offer a solution. They haven't thought it through carefully. They just have a strong opinion, you know, a racist opinion.
They'll be all swept away. All the police swept away. And they take the country.
The country isn't London.
3%. That's what Starmer's worried about.
What? He's not. I don't think Starmer's worried that all the Muslims in the country will march on London. Like, quite a lot of people live there. Like, there's quite a lot of Muslim people that live there. I suppose they wouldn't have far to march. Like, do you know what I mean, though? Like, I don't think he's worried that what are they going to do? Just take over the stock market? Like, set up their flag on top of the stock market. That's ours now. We want the money coming in, please. Like, that's not how the city works, is it?
That's what he's worried about. When he sees these Gaza things with 500,000 people in, he craps himself. You think, well, what if they turn nasty? Per million, Mike.
This is the point of protest, is to show the government your strength of feeling without turning nasty, to give them a bit of a thought, to say, hey, you know, this is the mass majority here. This is what they all think and believe. We better represent them well. And the Gaza protests were a bit like that, weren't they? So you don't have to be scared of it, Alan. It's just normal people who don't want kids to be killed in Gaza.
500,000 walking through London. What if they turn nasty? And that's why you see the police never taking them on. Because if it does go off, it's finished. And that's why I've come to this conclusion tonight, that we have to stop the boats. Start somewhere, right? So I'm imploring Mr. Starmer to actually stop the boats.
Right. Although that was never exactly... I don't know, was that an election promise to stop the boats? Maybe it was. Maybe they talk about that. I just don't think it's ever a realistic goal for any feasibly realistic goal, is it? To stop somebody from doing something that you can't control from another country. Like, I suppose it can be achieved, like I said, with cooperation between us and France. If only there was a union between our countries. But it seems strange that Alan would have this demand upon Keir Starmer to stop something that people are doing in other countries, and we're the ones that are doing these things in other countries to cause these people to come, because we bomb the fucking countries, but to stop them from even coming here in the first place.
Not ask the French to wave them off and take pictures of them. Not ask the RNLI to guide them in. Not ask 2,000 lawyers to be sat there waiting to take them on and get them everything they can. Not closing down hotels and giving them a hotel. In Italy, an immigrant, illegal immigrant, he gets £2 a day. £2 a day in Italy.
Okay, let's say that were true. I don't know anything about Italy's system. Let's say you only got £2 a day and you're an illegal immigrant and you're sitting there on £2 a day. You've got choices. Maybe you can work, maybe you can't. I don't know what the system is. But if you can't work, then you're going to turn to crime because you are absolutely desperate. A bit like this man. People, when they're absolutely desperate for money, not all of them, but some of them turn to crime. Whether it's theft of the items they need. Jean Valjean, I stole a loaf of bread, you know. Whether it's that or whether it's just like there's a black market, a gang, a culture there that you can get into, and because you can't work legally, or maybe it's illegal work, you know, maybe that counts as a crime. But you know, that's what fuels that black market and that that seedy underbelly. So if you treat people well and you gave them the care and respect and gave them a bit more, they wouldn't have to do that. So actually there's an argument to say that our streets are safer if you give them nice places to stay and a little bit of money and help them get a job. Like,
France, £6 a day.
big ups Juicy Delicious.
No accommodation. We give them accommodation, £50 a week, mobile phone, free dental care, and they get to see doctors.
They get to see doctors. Take that away from them. It would be better if they were spreading disease. What do you want about? They get to see doctors. Good. Let's have more doctors. Invest in the public health service. Like, what's your problem, Alan?
You wonder why they want to come here?
No, I don't. Listen, I don't really wonder why people want to come to this country. I feel absolutely blessed to be born British. I feel blessed. And it's not just a blessing. My parents worked hard, their parents before them, you know, all this. It's not just a blessing. It's on the back of other people's hard work and stuff, but it's also good fortune, isn't it? You didn't choose where you were born, but, you know, could have been worse, could have been better. But I think our country's brilliant in lots of ways. And I think our society and sharing and, you know, and all that, I think there's so many good things. So, of course, I can see why people who are living a hell of a life in a different part of the world might think that seems like a better option. I'll move hell and high water to make my way there so that my children can have a better life. You know, I can understand that. And that's part of our culture, is what we do in the West, is we act like... It's like Alan saying, America, get rid of all the fucking immigrants. Well, it is immigrants, isn't it? Close down New York. Like, it is immigrants. So... we know this is stupid, don't we? We do know it's stupid, but that compassion for people who want that for themselves, that better life, you know, that opportunity, the fact that people don't have it disgusts me. But there is another way to, I don't want to say skin this cat, a horrible thing to say, isn't it? But there's another way to, you know, crumble this cookie, which is to say that if you make their quality of life in their own countries where they are living already better, like to the same living standard as the rest of the world, they might not want to leave. They might be like, this is great where I live, like I feel. I mean, I kind of want to go around the world a bit, but you know what I mean? They might just say, this is great where I live, I'm really happy, so I don't need to leave. But the opposite of that is if you bomb them and like strip them of their natural resources or, you know, stuff like that. Like, you could enable these countries and assist them to have thriving and successful democracies and freedoms like the rest of the world. You could cause wars to pretend you're doing that and actually bomb the fuck out of them and steal the oil. There's all sorts of different ways to cut it. But like, the argument can't simply be that people around the world are not having a good time. Well, pull the ladder up, Jack, because I'm fine. Let them burn. Do you know what I mean? Let them burn. It's just, it doesn't make any, whether it's a good thought or a bad thought, what it doesn't do is it doesn't fix any of the problems, because they'll carry on happening. You know? It's the sort of person who says, well, just don't be depressed. You're feeling sad, well, just don't feel depressed, just don't. Like, that doesn't fix it. It'd be better if things were different and everyone could just have a happier life, but they're not. So we've got to do something about it. Otherwise, people are going to want to go to a society that they perceive to be safer, hopefully, for crying out loud, with more opportunity, where their children can thrive. You know? Like, why did we win the war for? Why did we bother winning the war?
Now, I'm predicting a immigration surge.
A surge?
Led, you don't know about this, but I study it, by the Russians, Saudi Arabia.
Well, are you stupid? By invading Ukraine, Russia created an immigration surge to the rest of Europe. We had a lot of Ukrainians come to our country when Russia invaded Ukraine. So you're behind the times on this one, Alan. That's already happened.
Turkey, China, Korea. They can go whoosh, open floodgates. Send in the Vietnamese to America. Whoosh. Send.
You think they're going to press a button in Russia and thousands of Vietnamese people are going to get up and fucking move to America?
sending the Syrians to England.
No, the reason the Syrians come to England, Alan, is because we bomb the fuck out of their country, so they've got to go somewhere.
Send the Iranians to France. It's organised. And now, all they need is one last push, one last surge to finish us off. We're already on our knees. One last surge of 1,000.
1,000. I wonder, 1,000 a day is going to say, but I wonder which country that'll come from then. I wonder where we'll source that surge. Which third world country can we, like, bomb into submission and force into retreat? Is that what he's suggesting will happen, or does he just think Russia have got a magic phone that they can call up a load of area trainers and say, it's time to get going, lads? Should I be worried about, like, you know, like he's gone around the world a little bit here. Should I be worried about people from other cultures that I don't expect? Like, is it going to be a sort of you know, unexpected enemy? Or we should be worrying about people from Iceland now, or like, we're going to get a load of Norwegians suddenly feel like moving in? Is that, like, what is he even suggesting, really?
A day, 500 a day, 300 a day on the boats, boom, 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 relentless. And we're there. Well, where are we going to put them? Oh, we better take the barracks. We better take over the university accommodation. Yeah, we better do that, yeah.
Again, both of those places, there's a financial interest to filling them up with the immigrants. They weren't occupied before, and the barracks especially annoys the fuck out of me, because it could social housing sat empty. Should be, like, if you're thinking why aren't our own people getting those housing? They had the chance, it was sat empty. You know, like, the government have not been suggesting to put people up in hotels simply because they're having trouble with their finances in the UK. Like, you know, if you fall upon hard times, you need social housing, or if you're just not able to afford your own home, you need social housing. You know, like, you're not given a hotel just by merit, are you? But they've always had hotels, so that's not on the immigrants. It's not because of the immigrants there's no space in the hotels and our own people should get them. It's that they've always had space in the hotels and they've never given them to the people in the UK because they haven't cared a fuck. But this scam, this one that's going on to fill the hotels with immigrants and turn over the monies, you know, that's a scam. And also human rights and stuff. Imagine if you filled it up with British people and they would all expect a certain level of standard and human rights. Like, who do these refugees complain to in these hotels if there's a problem? Like, what about the health and safety issues and etc, etc, etc? Is everything all completely fine, tickety-boo? Like, I wonder. I bet it's a bit of a leaky ship sometimes, isn't it? Anyway,
All those houses not sold, we're having them. I read a story about an old grandmother
oh, there we go. I read a story. You didn't, because you can't read.
who brought up her family in a house in somewhere in London suburb. She had 3 kids and a husband. As time goes on, she gets to, like, old. She's now 85. Husband's died, unfortunately, and the 3 kids have left and gone. He's now left with a 3-bedroom council house. He gets the letter from the council. We want your house. We have to give it to some people.
Yeah, okay, so because he lives in social housing and there's only one of him and the house is big, he's not going to just get to sit there because he's lived there all his life. In our country, you do have the opportunity to buy your own home, and if he wants that, he could have worked towards buying his own home, or his children could have worked towards that. Everyone has the same opportunity. It's not easy, but he's had his life and he's made his choices, and this is not unexpected, I don't think. Like, he might have to move into a smaller accommodation that best suits his needs as an elderly gentleman instead of some massive 5-bedroom house. Like, why are you arguing this? Like, that's exactly the sort of person that's keeping you from getting all the stuff you want, because they're hogging a massive house. So they're taking up loads more resources than they need. It's like he's arguing in favour of selfishness, but only for white people. Like, if there's these immigrants and the illegals or whatever, you know, these people aren't coming here to be selfish. They're not, like, sitting at the top of the Ritz-Carlton drinking champagne, laughing at the paupers below with their lovely new mobile phone, and they're like, you know, they're not laughing at poor people saying, I'm Lord La-di-da. Like, they're at the basic, most basic end of our society where they've got a roof over their head, a little bit of money and a phone. Like, it's, I mean, obviously some people don't even have the phone or the roof, but do you know what I'm saying? Like, they're not lardy-dardying it around, whereas Alan's now angry because he thinks this old man should stay in this 5-bedroom house and just let it sit there, like, you know, 5 bedrooms that could be used by a large family, and just like, you know, he should get to keep it. He's lived there all his life. Why should he not move? Sorry, why should he move? Well, he should move because it's social housing and he doesn't require it.
We need your house. You have to leave. You know, I lived there all my life. Paid my rent. Never missed a payment. You have to leave.
Imagine this though, you could live in a rented accommodation, the laws and the way the rules are in our country, and they could just do a no-fault eviction on you, and then you'd have to leave, and you could have a family and everything, and you're just fucked. And like, it's not easy to find another place. Like, and you could be looking for that exact house that man's living in, and he could be just sat in it himself, just like, I'm not leaving either. Like, it's a chain of stuff, isn't it? It's complicated. But ultimately, it's solved by building more social housing, more affordable social housing, an achievement, an aim that the last 10 years has not been met by the government. So now Labour are going to try and do more of that. You have to give it a bit of time. Like, it's just weird that you should argue on the case of he's going to assume here that, because that example he's given, that goes on around the country. There's, as I said, there's 70 million people in the country. So 100,000 immigrants, but millions and millions of people living in social housing that have different accommodation needs. That problem could be resolved and might help things, but it won't matter if you focus on the immigration. You should focus on these other problems. Like, the problem he's highlighting should be focused on and corrected, whereas the immigration thing isn't as big of a problem when you multiply it out by the whole nation.
One person in a 3-bedroom house. We want those bedrooms. You're going to have to go. No, she said. Eventually, they send around the bailiffs, and all the neighbours come out and try to stop the bailiffs. Then they come with the police, and the police drag her out of her own home. Don't believe me? Read about it. They're desperate. They're desperate to put these people somewhere. Don't you see that we have to start here with a cap, say, of, I don't know, immigration can be no more than 100,000 a year. Last year, our population went up by 600,000 in the country. Some people left, but 600,000 more came in. That needs to be 100,000 for us to manage it. All these people have to have interpreters. They're not going to speak English. They have no intention of speaking English. They will never speak English. They will go into their parallel society, and we have to have interpreters for when they go to doctors, interpreters when they go to the hospital, interpreters when they get arrested, interpreters when they want to get benefits. Don't you see that we have, the house is full, we're full, aren't we? You know that, I know that. Why doesn't Starmer know that? He doesn't even want to mention it. Thank God for GB News. Because without these smaller TV stations, BBC aren't going to tell you this. This man will tell you.
Oosh, the idea that we should have to have a cap on the number of people, 100,000, arbitrary number that Alan suggested. I don't know if he knows how many people are required to supplement the NHS workforce. I don't know if he knows the labour shortage in the country. I don't know if he knows. I don't know the exact figure, but there's no point in capping it at a small figure if we need a bigger figure. GB News can absolutely do one, yeah, and this is Talk TV, not GB News, because he's an idiot. But Talk TV and GB News are both just propaganda machines, advertising agencies for the Conservative Party and an even further right-wing agenda. So they can just both fuck off. They are not news, they're adverts. And I won't be watching them. So Alan's going to degenerate into watching the news for a bit, so I can skip that. You know, that Kino Casino show that I want to watch is coming up. So I am. He might say a few little bits in between the news. Let's just quickly. I know that Phil's not on Kino Casino till 3 a.m. So let's just quickly.
But you, Stephen, you out of.
Well, the rest of us.
Let me just check that actually. I'll check it in another window while we do this. Yeah.
Have to put up with this.
Oh, he's just linking the two videos together there. He's not really stopping and talking, so that's fine. Is he talking about this stuff?
20 years.
Oh, he's reading stuff. Oh, for God's sakes. Reading
Unsustainable.
stuff.
Thousands and thousands and thousands of them. Nearly we're like stuck with it, whether you like it or not. The Home Office is responsible for 297 million of this aid spending in 2023. Food and shelter, scholarships, administration. If you're in France, you're only getting £6 a day, right? If you come here, you get HC2 certificate, free NHS prescriptions, dental treatment. Also, you can see a consultant before everyone else. Because, like the man said, you've got to be checked out to see if you're okay.
Like, Anna's just going to read this fucking website. I can be asked to see what the website is, find out what the source is. I assume it's spurious in some way, you know. Because it's all about, you know, who does a website like this, you know, all about how bad illegal immigrants are. Migration Watch UK, that's who's done it. So let me just quickly... Migration Watch UK. Founders Lord Green of Deddington and David Coleman. Who's this? UK Parliament. Lord Green of Deddington, former British diplomat. What does that mean, former? I wonder what side of the politics he's on. Do you know what I mean? Baron Green of Deddington. Baron Green of Deddington. I wonder what sort of politics he has. He was in the Royal Green Jackets, diplomatic service. It's weird, isn't it? 'Cause he's not like a politician, but he's actually in the House of Lords. So I wonder who put him into the House of Lords. David Cameron. David Cameron put him into the House of Lords. So I'd guess he's Conservative Tory. And what they do with the Tories, like I said, is they push this right-wing agenda. They don't push it through the actual Tory party because they don't want you to think they're racists. So they push it through something else like Migration Watch UK, run by Tory people, there to promote propaganda, just like GB News. And then it pushes people towards these ideas. They might vote these ideas. They might vote more right-wing, either reform. They might vote reform. That's not Tory. No, but like Nigel Farage did with the Brexit vote, he'll just close it down and just say, oh, well, go vote Tory now. Go vote Tory. It's just a way of sort of testing ground these right-wing politics and dragging the politics more to the right than the centre, and not wearing the badge of conservatism while you do it, but actually being a conservative. I think that's the read I get on that.
So I'm just looking around.
So I'm just looking around at Migration Watch UK, getting a very biased opinion. So I'm not actually going to bother with it. I'm just going to skip past it.
So what's the conclusion? British society is founded upon the shared heritage of the Scots, the Irish, the Welsh, and the English.
What? And the Romans, and the Vikings, and the Nords, and the Saxons, because they always go on about this. I'm an Anglo-Saxon, you know, and the Christians counts because it changed the society, like Christians, Catholicism, am I off my head? And when we did the Empire, all those other countries that we went to, and as you said, the Windrush people, like, you know, people from all over the world that count themselves as British. Yeah.
With our rich history, culture of the British people. I was watching the Olympics today, right? Forget the name of the girl, blonde girl. She won the 800 metres. What's she called? Hampshire or something? Somebody tell me. Anyway, she won the 800 metres last night. I watched it. Brilliant. Today she gets a medal in a packed Stade de France, right? She gets a medal. She's actually got a medal. Tall blonde girl.
Nice hair.
Very British.
Very British. He means she's white.
And up go the flags, don't they? The 3 flags, but the Union Jack first. Then it starts, the national anthem. And the little bottom lip quivers when it's crying. Time, you know, God save the king. She's crying. That is British.
That's every single country that competes for a medal and wins one goes through that process, has that same emotional response.
That will be a thing of the past.
What are you talking about? Anthony Joshua won Olympic gold. He's the son of immigrants. Mo Farah. Alan, Mo Farah. You fucking prick.
We have nothing to be proud of, will we?
Oh my god, I'm proud of Mo Farah.
Unchecked. If left unchecked, a fractured society, increasing tensions between different religions and cultures groups. And don't forget, many of these people are from conflict-ridden parts of the world. So every time there's a problem back home, they call it home, in Iran or whatever, they'll be out in the streets protesting. Stop this, stop that, put up this, close this down, do this, don't sell arms to this, don't do this, don't do that. They don't want to be here. Oh my God. They want this country taken over. And what happens to every country that's taken over? They fail. Tell me a successful country from these war-torn countries.
I thought he was going to say, show me a successful country with immigrants in it. Like, you know, because I was going to say America. And then the war-torn countries, the ones we've just been bombing, yeah, they're not doing very well, are they? But countries that have fought wars or had wars include all of them. Like, you live in a country that's been through a civil war, cut the head off the king, installed a parliament. I mean, if you want to argue that people from a different culture, like, you know, they're bad and they can't have good countries, then you also have to accept that Saudi Arabia have just bought the boxing, like all of it. They're doing quite well over there because they've just got fucking loads of money because of oil, a lot of it, isn't it? Like, money helps. Like, I'm really, like, you know, I want to critique and argue with what he's saying, but some of them, and I'm tired now of it, and, like, but some of them don't even make sense. Like, they just don't. I mean, what do you want me to say about that?
Nobody wants to invest in those countries. Nobody wants to go there on holiday.
You don't want to go on holiday to Syria, is that what you're saying?
There's no joy. All the joy's been sucked out of the population. Women aren't allowed out. Can't drive a car.
Or are you just talking about generally Arabic culture? Is that what you're talking about? Like Saudi Arabia, for example, where it's illegal to be homosexual. Like, but Dubai and... I'm pretty sure, has your daughter been to Dubai on holiday, or does she want to? I don't know. Like, there's a certain element of the completely insane about what Alan's saying. Like, they had the World Cup in Qatar.
And young girls are seen as fair game.
Or is he only talking about the war-torn countries that have gone through, like, these processes, like the war-torn? Is he just talking about sort of, like, you know, Afghanistan and Syria and places like that?
I don't know of any women
The end. I don't know of any women. That's all you should say, Alan. Move on.
of that religion that have been raped and tortured
Oh, my God.
in the streets, do you? Unlike the 2,000 in Rochdale.
What?
So we need a cap. And we need to follow Denmark. And we need to follow Sweden that have said that's it. We need to follow Greece and say...
Like, it's a bit easier for Denmark and Sweden because they're further away and there's different countries that people want to come to that are in the way of them. So I don't think they have the exact same problems as we do, but...
That's it, no more. At present, there is no control of immigration.
Yes, there is.
The system, in effect, has been deliberately delegated to employees in universities with no limit on numbers they can bring in.
So now what he's doing is reading from that website, and the website's arguing that if you get... the website is arguing that if you allow for example, the education thing. You know, you can come here as a legal immigrant and come and work in education or get your degree or, you know, things like that. So, but there's no cap on that. Lots of people can do it, but there's a sort of automatic social cap by merit of how many people are going to fucking do it. Like, there's not millions and millions trying to flood that system. If there were, we'd have to think about how it was. But at the moment, you don't need a cap because it's a sort of an open door policy that helps. Like, it's a trade thing as well, isn't it? Like, you know, because those universities get money. Like, you know, so I think it's a sort of open cap in a way, maybe. But I don't know if he's right. I think there might even be, you know, there's processes, checks and balances. It's not just do what you fucking want. Tell us later if you had a good time. I can see in the other window now. I've got this other window. These nutters are going mad. Look, their chat's going mad. They're going mad. So I'm going to want to watch this in a minute. Phil's not supposed to be on for another hour, but they're already doing this. Look.
Quit for 10 subs. Arcade Outpost for 5 subs. Oh, new guy. Keto. Wait.
I mean, to be fair,
a keto side.
Shut up, you. Their chat is absolutely flying as well. Everyone's there to watch Dark Side, Phil, and I will be too. So yeah, let's just finish this off if we can quickly. We can skip the video bits that he does.
If you want foreign workers, you can bring them in. If you want people to go to universities, you can bring them in from any country you want. And once they're here, they don't go. They do the 2-year course and rip up everything and they stay. And then they ask for their family to come and join them. And then they get them as well. It's like organized. The government must totally back a decision to put a cap on immigration. Every year it needs to be checked. Otherwise, this country will be no more. And it won't be much use to the Islamic State when we've got no money left to pay them benefits, right? If we run out of money, it doesn't even help them, does it? Because their women don't actually go to work; they stay at home bringing up 5 kids or 4 kids or 3 kids. Or
So do the women in the UK that have 5 kids quite often. What is he saying? Obviously, Muslim people have jobs and create. Like, what is he on? What are you on?
They don't actually work, do they? The women.
Should all women work?
What I see of it. I mean, like, they're quite able to be.
Like, I think within a family unit, if someone's got a bunch of kids, maybe it's okay if one of them stays home and looks after the kids. Isn't that like a traditional value of British culture as well?
On the streets of London every day, and 500,000 of them.
Not that they should be forced, but, you know, isn't that also like a family value of British culture?
They're not working, are they? They're not working.
Alan, you're not working. Your brain's not working. Your dick's not working.
They're not doing 9 to 5, are they? So what happens if we run out of money to give them benefits? Well, what if we suddenly say to them in Birmingham, you can't pay benefits anymore? Well, I don't know how we're going to pay my rent. Oh, well, we run out of money.
Alan, we didn't say that to the fucking banks, did we? When they were like, oh, we've crashed the economy, we've lost all the money, it's gone. Did we? We didn't say that to the banks.
What about child benefit? We run out of money. They're doing it. They're ruining our country. They, in the long run, they won't be a country. Who's going to empty the bins?
Who's going to empty the bins? The huge irony of this, and I don't think this is like one of those Kelly Osbourne Donald Trump moments. She said when she was saying about immigration and talking about Donald Trump, she said, "Who's going to empty your bins, Donald Trump? Who's going to clean your toilet, Donald Trump?" And there was like a shock in the audience. It's like what she meant was legitimately. In the social strata, immigrants come in and do some of the more unfavourable jobs. You know, like if you've been born in the country and you've got a free education, you've gone to a school and you had these opportunities, then you aspire for something in life, you know, above the cleaning the toilet job maybe. But if you're an immigrant and you don't have those opportunities, then you might have to just like, you know, check in at base level and just get the job that, whatever the job, you know, this is our society, the way it runs, isn't it? That's how it works. So as Alan was describing earlier, when those Windrush generation came in, there was a need for more people in our society because we'd just been through a war. There was like a labour shortage. But of course, we all know that immigration and those lower end jobs on society, like the immigrant first wave immigrant peoples tend to do some of those jobs, and then like the unskilled labour jobs, for example, and then their children get the opportunities and become part of the society that go on and do the, you know, the next generation thing, don't they? Like, you know, your parents worked very hard in this difficult job so you could have opportunities. That's our society. So Alan's stupid again.
Who's going to pay the teachers? Where will the money come from? The money used to come from big stores that paid thousands and thousands of rent and council tax and everything.
You're an idiot. That money used to go to private landlords.
The government to pay for all this. There's an infrastructure, pay for it all. Smokers would give millions and millions of millions to go to the NHS.
And then they started to cost the NHS lots of money. Like, what the fuck is he on? Let's get people smoking more to sort out the economy. I mean, I'm saying let's actually legalise marijuana. That would be a benefit to the economy. That would instantly put money into the economy and take it away from the black market. You wouldn't have to spend the money policing it. Like, you know, there are simple things we could do like that.
Every gallon is pounds and pounds and pounds to pay for the hospitals, to pay for the roads, to pay for everything. If it collapses, there isn't anything. It's collapsing around us.
It's
Put up council tax, no good. We can't pay it. How many people? Something like 100,000
Alan's complaining now because he has to pay council tax.
people are way beyond their council tax.
Alan, you've lived here all of your life. You've had every opportunity to take those opportunities, and you're sat here grifting in your fucking... Well, he's not even grifting that hard live anymore, is he? But you've been doing a lot of grifting.
Put it up again, and they can't pay it. Put up the water rates, they can't pay it.
Riggs, we'll talk Keno and Phil in just a minute. Yeah.
Put up the tax.
They're still doing this, look.
They've got their money.
I can't watch this happening.
And the support.
Yeah.
The
The only people
support
that are
is
well off.
most important.
No, they're probably talking about Phil, actually,
They
but...
bought a house when they were 20, and then they've got a house...
Finish this first.
They're the people that well off.
Yeah, you're right, Alan. The people that he just said the people that bought a house when they're 20 and now they've got £1 million. Like, yes, the economy was different with the living wage that you could work. Like 50 years ago, living wage would afford you the opportunity to buy that house, and the house would be cheaper, and it would have got. Now, because of all that, your generation. Yeah, and I'm sorry if you are or are not sitting on a property that, you know, but your generation have caused it so that my generation and the next generation below me don't have that opportunity. We're more forced to rent, and our wages don't go as far, so we have a harder time getting on the property ladder. Like, the people that own loads of properties and the property moguls in the Conservative Party have not helped that as well. Like, what are you fucking doing?
But that won't last forever.
Get your glasses on, do some reading. He's going to read the Daily Mail.
So I'm
Pete,
gonna read.
I'm not. You're going to read it. I'm going to skip it. I've literally had enough of this. Right, we're going to skip right to the end and see what he says at the end.
Full factor as to why people come.
And then we'll move on to Keno, Casino, and Phil because he's due in about an hour.
Yeah. We need to put a end to soft touch Britain and toughen up to the future
I've
of
got
a
to
great country.
I've got to decide if I sign up to Kick just so that I can join them in their chat.
I look forward from hearing the views
And the answer is no. I'm not going to sign up to Kick just so I can be in their chat.
of all parties, which I've no doubt would differ from mine. So there is people in Parliament that actually know what's going on, but you don't hear about them, do you? You only hear about, we will not have this right wing, we will shut down free speech, we'll close down these channels, we won't have this, we won't have that, we just have immigration. And that's the story I wanted to bring you, and thanks for listening to me. It took my mind away from the riots. I don't know what's rioting tonight. No doubt it'll be something.
How on earth did that take your mind away from the riots? Because it's what fueled the riots, you fucking idiot. And the idea that we've got bad people like that are trying to stop. I'm back. I had a little glitch then. I'm back. And I've forgotten what my point is anyway. I was saying we'd rather have immigration than the right wing. He was just saying that you can either choose between the right wing and immigration, really, he was saying.
This right wing wiggle Parliament that actually know what's going on. But you don't hear about them, do you? You only hear about, we will not have this right wing. We will shut down free speech. We'll close down these channels. We won't have this. We won't have that. We'll just have immigration.
So there he goes.
That's
He
the
says,
story.
you know, we won't have the right wing, we'll just have immigration. So if you want that choice between the right wing and immigration, then obviously everyone in their right mind will choose the right thing and immigration. Because the right wing, like, you can't, and it's not, it's like saying, you know, Hitler and the Nazis just took it too far. And if they weren't taking it so far, it would have been fine. If they didn't gas all the Jews, if we just come back a little bit, take just some of the good things that Hitler did, like, it's just really stupid. Like, don't you understand things? The right wing are the baddies. So, yeah, like, you know, it's a bit like that, isn't it? You have to wait 4 hours to chat, do you? All right, well, I don't care about being in their chat. Yeah, and I don't care about Alan because he doesn't care about anyone else.
You and thanks for listening to me. It took my mind away from the riots.
Again, how could that possibly take your mind away from the riots? You must have something wrong in your brain. That is potentially a hate crime that has fueled the riots, Alan, what you've done today. So, like, it didn't take my mind off it. It actually made me think about it more. You fucking idiot. That was the point of it. That's all the rhetoric you've just been spouting. The whole point of it all was to get people all wound up, wasn't it? You fucking idiot.
I don't know what's right tonight. No doubt there'll be something. But I wanted you to know there is a way.
What way? You haven't solved any of it. You just said just stop the immigrants. But you haven't offered any solution as to how to do it. Just stop them. Sick bastard, isn't he? He is a sick bastard. I saw a proper noncer getting arrested. I saw a TikTok, you know, like the police were dragging them out. It reminded me, it looked very much like a very similar sort of build and, you know, identify. It was a similar sort of age and build, and, you know, I should have tagged it, actually. I should have put a fucking bookmark on it and brought it up next time. I just, you know, it's not all just Asians doing bad things, is it, Alan, you sick bastard?
Even at this
Smule kids.
late date to save the country.
When he was singing with kids on Smule, the kids were Asian. The kids were all Asian.
And there's only one way, is to go the Australian way, close the borders to the
And drift off into the fucking Pacific Ocean as well, Alan. I think Australia have got an easier job keeping immigrants at bay because they have a smaller source of them, and they always come from that particular part of the world and not just in on boats from nearby European countries. Like, are you fucking stupid?
Will they do that?
No.
As I told you, the students...
Alan, you've had the opportunity all of your life to simply move to Australia if you prefer that. Like, they should have shipped you out there. If you'd have been alive a few hundred years ago, you'd have been shipped out there as a criminal, no doubt.
Bangladesh managed to make the Prime Minister of Bangladesh run away. How many British people are going to lose the plot and go, no more? No more migrants. Please, Mr. Starmer, listen to your people. They haven't got room.
Alan, the people that voted for Keir Starmer chose to vote for him over the right wing. He's the left wing. So by listening to the people and accepting a massive mandate for change, he is currently doing that. You are not the majority of the people. You are a tiny minority of small-minded, bigoted shitheads who don't deserve to be listened to, and frankly should be pushed out. Like, when those migrants come in on those boats, people like you should be forced to get on them, and we should just push you out and see how you fare. In Minecraft. Like, I'm not advocating for violence in any way. It's a joke, you know. You're a total arse, Alan. You're a total arse. How does he not, like, the way he said that, you know, you should listen to your people. Like, he thinks, like, have you not seen the pictures of the protests, the actual protests against the right-wing racists? The right-wing racist people are doing violent disturbances. They're doing criminal acts, you know. Like, that's not a protest, whereas it's a riot. They've called it a riot, whereas people protesting against the riots in their community vastly outnumber them. So you're an idiot.
I'm not even talking about colour of skin. I'm talking about we have no more room.
We have no more room. There's no more room at the inn. I tell you what, there's no more room at the inn is exactly what they said to Mary, didn't they, when she had Jesus? There's no more room at the inn, and she had to bear Jesus in a stable. Alan would have turned away the Mother of God and the nascent Son of God. Alan would have turned them away. I'm saying take them in.
Thanks for listening to Armchair Detective. Sorry to be on such a rant tonight, but I think it was needed to be said, and I hope I've shown you some stuff you didn't know about. Tell your friends that we haven't got any room at the inn.
What? Like, are you anti-Christian? I thought you were anti-Muslim, because having no room at the inn wasn't like, that's not like a parable. You're not supposed to behave like the innkeeper. It was a negative that they made Jesus be birthed in the stable. It was a negative, wasn't it? Like, the parable of the Good Samaritan is all about helping other people. Like, Jesus was all about love thy neighbour. He wasn't all about there's no more room at the inn, pull the ladder up, Jack. Like, you're so stupid to have said that. And he thinks it's clever. Look, he's got a quirky little clever smile. He thinks it's clever. And I'll tell you what, if anyone's watching me and listening to me, and this is an appeal to Grumpy Grannis, because I know sometimes our politics doesn't quite align. I don't know exactly, I'm sure she doesn't think like Alan, but like, Alan's made it very clear again, and this is to everybody actually, not just Grumpy Grannis. She's all right. Our politics, like, people have different politics about some things. Grumpy Grannis is, I think she's Catholic. I don't want to talk too much about Grumpy Grannis, but like, she's Catholic, and like, she's got certain strong opinions about things. Fair enough, I suppose. On this one, I don't know. I'm not saying she's got Alan opinions. I'm just saying that for everyone, there's no more room at the inn. He's just said it there. If you think there's no more room in our country, if you think there's no more room, if you think that, then just check out the examples of what we've just been talking about. Check out the moral message with what you're saying. Like, Alan nailed it on the head there. They told them there was no more room at the inn and he had to be born in the stable. The message is not fucking shut people out. You could be turning away the Son of God, like the greatest. Like, those people were stupid to have pushed him into the stables. Find a bit more room. It's not an inn anyway, it's a massive country. There's loads of room. I can't believe he said it. It's disgraceful what he said. Him and Luke and those people recently, all those people that have been like that, they've been disgraceful recently. Disgraceful. Some of them keep it all a bit secret, a bit low-key. Don't want you to know exactly who they are. Some of them shout it from the rooftops like Alan. They're all disgraceful.
Thanks for listening to Armchair Detective. Sorry to be on such a rant tonight, but I think it was needed to be said, and I hope I've shown you some stuff you didn't know about. Tell your friends that we haven't got any room at the inn. See you soon.
There you go. What's that? Up next, Zionist agenda. Right. Rumble. There's people there getting 4,000 views on a live on Rumble. Alan's not doing so well. That's had 270 views 5 hours ago. So if it goes up much higher than 500, he's faking it, because it's not going to pick up loads of views. Like, these end up getting up over 1,000, and I just think the ones that do, he's faking. Really, I just feel that in my bones a bit these days. Although I don't think he can be asked that much to spend fake view money, but he's definitely doing it on TikTok, so why not do it here as well a bit? And when you consider how few that video he's just got, as I've just said, it's 270 views. It's been up for 5 hours. There aren't going to be lots more people tuning in soon to watch that. 270 views. It's not even an interesting topic. He said all that stuff before. 270 views. It's a load of racism. And how on earth is that going to pick up another 1,000 views overnight in a week's time? It's not. So if it does, then you can see, obviously, you can see clearly that he's just bought 1,000 and stuck them on there, which is most likely what he's going to do if he feels that he wants to waste his money like that. But what a horrible thing to have done. What a horrible thing to have done. He deserves nothing good to come from this, from himself. Selfish, nasty man. Right, for YouTube, I'm going to cut that for YouTube, and then we'll move on to the other casino. We're going to watch casino thing to watch now. Yeah, so you be good, and if you can't be good, you YouTube, you're naughty. Yeah, you're naughty.